morning or good afternoon, as the case may be, where you're at. Welcome to the October 2024 meeting of the Board of Directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism. My name is Mark Falcon. I am currently the chair of the Board of Directors. We will start with introductions or who is at the meeting, and then we'll jump right in.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for making those physically present. Thank you for coming out. Those who are attending virtually, likewise, welcome. My name is Gabrielle Fisher. In the SCA, I'm Duchess Adriel Caerth. I am from the Kingdom of Eldamir. Yes. I am currently the ombudsman for Locock, Drakenwald, and Avicall. I will be stepping down at the end of this meeting. I will miss it very much.
Hello, I'm Megan O'Shea. In the SCA, I'm known as Mistress Sumaya Alwazaya. I am the ombudsman for Aurora, Asia, and Meridies, as well as Arts and Science and Publication. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Liz Schreier. In the SCA, I'm Elisa Enigirmata, and I live in the Kingdom of Callantyre. I am currently the Society Seneschal, although at the end of this month, I will be stepping down and becoming the emergency deputy, and my replacement deputy will be taking over. She's on the virtual and will be introducing herself soon. It's good to be here.
Hello, I'm Pug Baker from Austin, Texas. I'm board member or ombudsman for East Nuthelmark, Trimaris, Grenoble, Carroll, and DERD. In the SCA, I'm Phelan Gervais, in the Kingdom of Stewart.
Well, I'm Melissa Midzer, known as Arabella de Siena, and I'm your society marshal, and we live here in the wonderful Kingdom of the Outlands.
My name is Val Camp, and I'm the society from the Dallas area. Like one walks in the beach. Like that. That's all you do know.
Good morning, it's Evan Kurtzman. I'm the in-house counsel for the SCA. In the SCA, I live in Caid and I am principal.
I am Carolyn Richardson, and I am the corporate treasurer. I also live in Caid, and my SCA name is Tetra Greenway.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Foster. In the society, I am known as Baron Johannes Glenfidanus, and I am from North Shield. I am the ombudsman for Callantyre, the Outlands, corporate IT, and the society webmaster.
Hi, I'm Leslie Luther Fulton. I am the executive assistant to the board. In the SCA, I am Jane Fallada Inglewood from the Kingdom of Glenavon.
Good morning. My name is Krista Capps. I'm the director for Seat A and ombudsman for Atlantia, Eldermere, Aidenveld, and Midron. In the SCA, and I am known as Becca DeGilleri. I'm from the Kingdom of the West.
Hi, I'm KT Shepard. In the SCA, I'm known as Ulrich von Brandenburg. I'm from the Kingdom of Meridies. I live in Huntsville, Alabama. I say I'm director for CETA. My ombudsman jobs right now are Caid, West, Ontier, North Shield, and Marshall. I'll pick up something later in those spoilers. Also, I'd like to remind everyone when you're speaking, that we want to speak to the audience, make sure for the people online that we speak to the OWL cameras as best we can. Speak slowly for the interpreters. Thank you.
That's the folks here in the room. I'd like now for the folks who are joining us via Zoom to introduce themselves as well. Bonnie, you can kick us off.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Stringer, known as Marcel Aurelian. I live in Glenavon, and I am the Society Exchequer.
Travis?
Hi, I am Travis Schenk. I am the SCA archivist. I am known as Ramon de Javier, and I am located in Spanish Fork, Utah, in the brilliant Kingdom of Artemisia. But formerly, I lived in Dragonspine in the Outlands. And to my friends in Dragonspine, I say, when the stag calls, the dragon roars.
Hello, everyone. I am Louise Ducray. I am your Vice President for Corporate Operations, located out here in the beautiful Santa Cruz Mountains.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bridget Costello. I am Communications, and I am coming to you today from the city of Canberra, capital of Australia, in the amazing Kingdom of Lockhart.
Good morning, everyone. I am Stacy Hall. I'm the Society Seneschal-elect, and I am known in the Society as Gwendolyn Nahalloran, and I live within the Kingdom of Meridies.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Sarah Noble McGee. I'm the Society Minister for Arts and Sciences through the end of this year. In the Society, I'm known as Hildegard Bergeron, and I live in the Kingdom of Atlantia, modernly Union County, North Carolina.
Good evening, everybody. I am Unni Leino from Helsinki, Finland, or in the Society, Birgitta Lulli from Drachenwald. I am the Society Herald.
And certainly not least, Joan, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Joan Stoyer. I'm Rhiannon Verkbrunup Griffith in the Society. I'm coming to you from Callantyre. I'm the board member elect for seat D.
As a particular note, this is Joan's last few hours of freedom before she takes over for Gabe, who is unfortunately leaving us today. So we're very pleased to have her with us. Did I miss anybody? Excellent. Then let us start the meeting if someone is inclined to offer a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the October 20th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Directors for the Society of Creative Anachronism.
There's a motion from Director Fisher, and second, I think, came from Director Bainter. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, I'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? There being none, with all six in favor, that motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the agenda as presented and take agenda items out of order as may be necessary.
I don't know who's first, but with that, motion from Director Fisher, second from Director O'Shea. Is there any discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? There being none, that is 6 in favor, none opposed, and that motion passes. Moving along. Our first order of business would be the approval of minutes. Leslie?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make a note. You have reviewed the minutes. It came to my attention last night that the July 21st minutes are the draft that are in the file drop. They were corrected and mailed back out, sent back out in September. So those are the ones that I am presenting for your approval, along with the August 26, 2024 conference call minutes and the September 23rd, 2024 conference call minutes.
By consensus and without objection from the directors, we will accept those minutes as presented without objection. So noted. In deference to scheduling and time zone issues, there has been some requests to take a few items out of order. Is there any objections from the directors if we do a little bit of jumping ahead to that effect? No objection. Objection. Okay. In that case, I'd like to jump to item 6. I'll get there. Item 6E, that would be the report of the Society Herald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I have no requested board actions at this time. There are a few policy interpretations. First of all, there are updates to the standards for evaluation of names and armory, 6 altogether, of which number 1 corrects actually a mistake found during the preparations for the upcoming peerage. So that we have traditionally protected badges of society-wide orders in all color combinations, but registering new ones is so rare that it was not included in the current scene. We are correcting that mistake before we get to the registration of the peerage order on ranged martial arts. Numbers 2 through 4 clarify our armory rules on how the field of a device or fielded badge is considered. And numbers 5 and 6 revise our name rules to reflect our growing understanding.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we accept the policy interpretation for the updates to SENA as presented by the society.
Motion from Director Banker. Is there a second? Second from Director Shepherd. Discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to the voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And with all in favor, none opposed, that motion carries. Please continue.
Number 2 are some changes to the glossary of terms where we clarify the terms and their interpretation to better match our current understanding and practice.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I move that we accept the changes to the policy interpretation for changes of the glossary of terms as presented by the society chair.
The motion from Director Banker, a second from Director. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And with 6 in favor, none opposed, that motion carries. Please continue.
And item 3 is a change to the administrative handbook appendices, where we are adding one more source into the list of books we should only use with proper caution, again reflecting our growing understanding.
Chair.
Yes.
I move that we accept the policy interpretation for the changes to the administrative handbook appendices as presented by the society.
Motion from Director Bainter, and I think Director Foster may have beat you up for that one. And for the thing, Director Bingo in the home game, that's Director Foster. That's a motion for Director Bainter, a second from Director Foster. No discussion on this motion. There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? There being none, all in favor, that motion carries.
And item 3, sorry, 4 are 3 changes to the list of alternate titles. Of these, number 1 adds Breton titles. Number 2 adds the French feminine title for knight to match the masculine one we already have. And number 3 changes Arabic counterparts for lord and lady from ones that have serious religious implications to ones that are clearly secular.
Chairman, I move that we accept the policy interpretation for changes to the list of alternative titles as presented by the society here.
Motion from Director Banker, second from Director O'Shea, with the instruction that you can't actually second something until the motion's seconded.
But I did.
It was the Breton titles, wasn't it? Very exciting.
Anyway, is there discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. That is 6 in favor. Any opposed? There being none, that motion carries.
So next, new policies, there are none at this time. Commendations, I believe, are going to be posted elsewhere, so I assume it's not necessary for me to read them at this time.
We'll note in the,
Correct.
during the intermission along with the stuff.
Yes. So we get to the general status report. First of all, a proposal for the name and insignia of a new peerage range Marshal Persits has been prepared. Unfortunately, there appears to have been a miscommunication between the board and myself, so that the proposal only includes one set of name and armory instead of multiple options that you would have preferred. I assume that this matter will be pushed forward to the January meeting, so we can present you with several options as you would prefer. On a somewhat brighter note, just at the beginning of this month, Sarah Algarnatia took over the office of Pelican Queen of Arms, which is making decisions on name submissions. And in last month, Olivier Lefloch took over the office of Rugged Staff Herald, in charge of the heraldic submissions paperwork and compliance at society level. Other than that, in summary, things seem to be going on reasonably well as expected, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Fine, thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Herald is gratefully accepted. So ordered. Again, doing a bit of skipping around. Without objection, we will skip to item 5A under new business, which is, as alluded to earlier, this would be around the heraldic submission as part of the proposal for the new peerage. This is the heraldic submission that Uni was referring to earlier. Uni, if you can cover this item as well.
Yes, with pleasure. We are, we have had a working group preparing the name and armory for this order during last summer, and that group prepared one set of name and armory, as we thought was our mandate. But as a refresher, order names in our society in general must follow period patterns for order names. Society-wide orders are different from others in that the names are protected in their translations to all languages, as we cannot predict which languages will be spoken in our society in the future. Peerage badges are by tradition desired to be unique and unused elsewhere in the society, because peerage badges generally are allowed to be used in the personal armory or of those who are members of that order. So the requirements for freedom of conflict are somewhat stricter than for other orders. And likewise, peerage regalia must be as unique as possible, and ideally enable multiple peer to wear the regalia of all their peerages at the same time. So with these considerations, the working group has come up with the proposed name of the Order of Esperance. Several period orders are named after abstract qualities and, for instance, virtues. And in fact, our current martial orders fall into this category as well: the Order of Chivalry, the Order of Defense. Esperance is a word used in Middle English, usually translated to modern English as hope or confidence or trust. But the modern hope is not a very good match, in the sense that it is a passive quality, while Esperance is an active self-confidence in being able to achieve what one sets out to do. There was a short-lived period, Ordre d'Esperance, founded by the Duke of Bourbon, and also an Esperance pursuivant employed by the Earls of Percy. These are unrelated, but neither of these is important enough for us to protect. For the badge of the order, we propose a set of nesting scale weights within and conjoined to a muzzle glory at the upper point. And would you decide? Well, would you prefer me to show that? I'm not sure I can share an image from my own computer, but if
you had one, that would be helpful. Yes.
So Louise, can you give him permission to share? And for folks' awareness, Louise is working.
Right. So this is what we are proposing. The set of nesting scale weights on the one hand resembles on an archery target. On the other hand, is a reference to the idea that order members are weighed and found worthy of this order. Likewise, the muscle around it resembles the symbol used in several wars for combat archers. The fleur-de-lis on top is there in order to diffuse a conflict with one of the protective symbols reserved for the International Red Cross, but it also makes this look like a compass point. But the main criterion, as I said earlier, is that these order badges are going to be used in contexts where they need to be as unique in the society as possible and free of existing conflicts, which limits our choices significantly. For regalia, we are proposing an ermine garter. So a strap bound typically around a leg or an arm, because in this position it doesn't conflict with existing peerage regalia. So a person who is a member of several peerages can wear this in conjunction with the existing ones. And since this would be worn around a forearm, we are using ermine instead of a white, so as to make it less likely to confuse this with the white scarf. There were several proposals proposed names and badges considered but discarded already. These are listed in more detail in the written proposal I sent to you earlier this month.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I hope I can speak for the board members in saying thank you very much for the effort that the Herald's office and all the folks who in the working group have put into this proposal for name, badge, device, regalia for the new order. I think it reflects a significant amount of effort, not only effort, but also engagement and coordination across the significant cross-section of the SCA. We look forward, we the board and the groups look forward to as we continue to work on these things, the other options that you guys will come up with, so that ultimately we have a slate of options that we can present to the membership for final selection and approval as we launch this new peerage. Much the same way we did with the mod when that occurred 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago. So we're very pleased with what you've done so far. We look forward to where things go from here. But so far, I'm really impressed. And if the next set of things are even half as good as the stuff you guys have done so far, then I'm very confident that the membership will have a wealth of options to choose from, and that will be very pleased and excited to, as we are, to get things moving and to new period launched and to see this new chapter begin for our organization. So thank you very much. Not only yourself, but the heralds and the members of the leadership who put all the effort into the work so far, and we look forward to what you guys will continue to do in the future. Without objection, we will accept this submission and look forward to the additional ones as they come forward, and we will look to put that together with the other things that we have to do so that we can track it to the membership. Yeah. So, thank you very much. Uni, I believe I'm correct in saying that those are the things for which you have a direct hand in, and I know that you have sleep and some mundane. I don't know the exact time where you're at, but I'm certain it's dark outside, and I believe you have not only sleep but some mundane considerations that would demand your attention. So if you need to, please feel free to go take care of those things.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, Uni.
Okay, let's get back to the agenda. We're still good to continue. Nobody needs any bio breaks, right? All right, but let's without objection, then we'll kind of jump back to the normal. Sure. All right, that brings us to item 3A. Liz, this is status changes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are some dissolutions, sadly, that require board action. The first is from Ontier, the Shire of Drumdunnen, which is the Port Angeles, it's Port Angeles, Clallam, and Jefferson counties in Washington state. The Kingdom Seneschal reports that the Shire has gone into abeyance. It failed to reconstitute for a long time, and they also had some issues with local officers resigning that could be replaced. Recently, the group has sort of revived itself, and they want to start fresh, though, with a new name, and they want to be a canton of the neighboring barony of Dragon's Lair instead of a shire. And the kingdom wants to help them reform as an incipient canton, but this does require dissolving the existing shire because they're not in a position right now to simply make a lateral change to canton. And the name change thing is complicated for an existing group. So the kingdom and the shire are requesting that it be dissolved. That requires board action.
Understood.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept with regret the dissolution of the Shire of that name that the Society Seneschal pronounced so well. I will not try to come behind that. As presented by the Society Seneschal.
As a motion from Director Shepherd, a second from Director Fisher. Is there discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? With all in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
If I know for just 1 second. So we've had some questions about why on the other end you're getting blurry pictures from the owl cameras. So what's going on, so you know, is when someone talks, the owl camera moves towards that person. But if there's something between you and the owl camera, it focuses on if, for example, a Starbucks bottle. It moves toward, it focuses on it, and thus the person behind it's just a little bit blurry. There's nothing wrong, that's just how technology works. Thank you for the indulgence.
Okay. Next we have out of Atlantia, the canton of Bricht, something like that. That one wasn't Gaelic, so I didn't ask Stacy to do it for me, which is Forsyth, Wilkes, Yadkin, and Surrey counties in North Carolina. This is a canton of the Barony of Sacred Stone. The canton has requested to be dissolved for the Kingdom Seneschal. It's reported that the still active members are either burned out, and some of the now inactive members have health issues which prevent them from participating at the level to maintain a group. And they are reported to have voted overwhelmingly to dissolve, and of course they're going to remain a part of their parent barony of Sacred Stone. So the kingdom is asking that the board move to dissolve that group.
Director Katz.
Mr. Chairman, I sadly move that the group, the canton of, excuse my French,
Let me help you out here.
In the Kingdom of Atlantia be dissolved as requested by both the populace and the Society Seneschal.
So a motion from Director Capps. Is there a second? Yes, there is, from Director O'Shea. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Director in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? With 6 in the affirmative, none opposed, that motion also carries.
Okay, one more on the dissolved request. This is out of Cayes. They've been doing some cleanup, as I understand it, of cantons of baronies that had sort of fallen by the wayside. This is the canton of Tanwayor, which is the South Bay area of San Diego, California. And the Kingdom Seneschal reports that this canton actually voted to close down in 2021, and it doesn't wish to continue as an official branch. They're part of the Barony of Calafia, and their members participate with the barony, and apparently don't see a need to maintain a canton as another entity. So they're requesting dissolution.
Director Shepherd.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Seneschal and the populace of the Canton Tanwayor's request to dissolve said canton as presented.
Motion from Director Shepherd. I'm gonna have to give that one to Director Foster. It's the little things. Is there any discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? With 6 in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
Okay, moving on to recognition of new branches. For the benefit of the audience, it is, once a group has been made official, it is required that the board act to dissolve them. However, to create a brand new branch, that takes effect when the kingdom decides they're official and announces it in a court. And then I report it to the board so that it can be recorded in the minutes and there's a record. Happily, the Kingdom of Drachenwald has recognized a new canton, the canton of the Tuatha of Lluan Or, which is basically Galway, Ireland. This group is a canton of Barony of Eppleheim, which is Ireland, in the Principality of Insula Draconis. And I would ask that the board acknowledge that the kingdom has created this new canton as an official group.
By consensus and without objection, the board happily notes the existence of the new canton and wishes them well.
Will add, if I may, that the Kingdom Seneschal of Drachenwald has reported that there seems to be a lot of new activity and new groups forming up in Insula Draconis, and she expects there to be some more official branches coming out of that principality in the near future, which is great news.
Excellent. Excellent news.
And that's all I have in the way of stats changes, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. That'll bring us to item 3C, the quarterly meeting schedule. Louise?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have set the meetings for the next calendar year. We've got the weekend of January 25th and 26th for the Q1 meeting, the weekend of April 12th and April 13th for Q2, July 12th and July 13th for quarter 3, and for quarter 4, October 18th and October 19th.
Without objection and by consensus, the board takes note of those meeting dates.
Got it. And as a note, as discussed yesterday, for everybody's knowledge, the intent is for a couple of these meetings to be in person in the new year, the April and October meetings. That is contingent on our budget discussions. But if groups out there are interested in hosting the next one of these, you'll want to reach out to Leslie, I believe, at ea@sca.org. All corporate officers will be invited as normal. And for the next quarter of conference calls, we've got Monday, November 18th and Monday, December 16th.
That's what I wanted to say.
Excellent, Louise. Thank you very much. I believe that brings us to item D, the bank account authorizations.
Yes, all bank account authorizations that have come through Bonnie and to me have been processed as much as we are able to with the ongoing issues with modern banks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jackson, take note of those as well. Thank you very much, Louise. Item E, warrants, Leslie.
It was a pretty busy quarter of warrants. Warrants were submitted by the Vice President of IT for Tracy DeGarmo as SharePoint champion, and Isabel Lane, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, as his special projects deputy. These fall within the purview of his office, and they've been enacted. The Society Exchequer submitted warrants for Susan Sackett as PayPal deputy and Esther Jenkins as Gulf Wars Exchequer. And again, they fall within the purview of her office, and they have been executed. A limited warrant extension has been executed for Bonnie Stringer as Society Exchequer in order to facilitate the placement and training of a new Exchequer. A limited warrant extension should have already been presented, but it wasn't, so it'll be coming out at the end of this meeting. Bridget Costello as our comms officer. Let's see, our president presented a deputy warrant for Lori Ford, as a special projects deputy. That will be presented after the close of this meeting, and that also falls within the purview of his office. Then at the close of this meeting, I'll be sending around a warrant for execution for Stacy Hall. She is your current Society Seneschal elect and takes that office on November 1st. She'll be replacing Liz Schrader, who's stepping down, and I personally would like to take a moment to thank Liz. She's been a pleasure to work with, has helped me immensely, and she has been kind enough to agree to step in as Stacy's emergency replacement deputy for a limited period while Stacy is getting office arranged. And that will also be coming out after the end of this meeting. And then my only other note is that you have 3 senior officers with warrants expiring soon. That is Crystal Smith, who is the Society Chronicler, Sarah Noble McGee as Society Minister of Arts and Sciences, and again, Bonnie Stringer as it was stated earlier, took a limited extension, and hers will be comparison as well, the exchequer rather. So, and that's your report on your warrants.
Thank you, Leslie. That will bring us to item F, ongoing projects. And number one, under order.
President, we currently have 41 candidates on the list for the Board of Nominees with 14 kingdoms represented. We have 2 candidates from the Kingdom of the Outlands, where we are currently. As always, the board is always seeking new nominations. You can nominate yourself, you can ask somebody else to nominate you, it doesn't really matter either way. We're always looking for a variety of diverse skill sets and different aspects of our membership to be represented by these board nominees. Age, title, you know, your position in the SCA are relevant, but not so relevant as some of the real life skills that we would like to see reflected as well, such as legal, business acuity, financial smarts, digital awareness. But we're always interested, and if anybody ever has questions about what it takes to be on the board or is interested, then they should reach out to board recruiting, and we can arrange a Zoom call, and you can ask whatever questions you might like if you are interested in nominating yourself or somebody else and serving in that capacity.
And I'd like to take a moment to dispel some rumors about what it takes to, you know, what we're looking for, or what may qualify you or disqualify you for being on the board. You don't have to be a royal peer. You don't have to be a peer. We're not going to turn you down if you are. It won't disqualify you. But it's you don't have to be that. You don't have to have been the SCA for 30 years or 40 years. But we're not going to turn you down if you have. What we're looking for is someone who is passionate about the SCA, committed to its health and growth, and who is willing to put in the time and the effort to make sure that it flourishes and that it continues to serve as a vital organization that serves its members to the best of its ability. You know, and I will note, you know, for example, you know, so just to prove to that, Jonathan, for example, is one of our current board members who is not yet a peer, although I suspect it will not stay that way for that much longer. Megan, when she joined the board, was not a peer. That did not stay that way, and she now is, but she was not when she joined the board. You know, granted, you know, there's proof on the other end, because that Ariel is a duchess, I'm a duke, so Adriel, excuse me. So it's not a disqualifier if you are a duke or a duchess, but we take all kinds.
Ariel's much shorter.
Yes. And what we're interested in is the folks who have a passion for the SCA, a willingness to put in the work, and who can bring something to the table to help us bring the organization forward. And that really comes in all shapes and sizes, in all packages. So if you are that person, or you know that person, we are interested. Please nominate, please talk to that person if they have questions, or please talk to us if you have questions and you are that person. And just to, you know, by way of information, since we're here, the 2 nominees from the Outlands are mundanely Tim Buxton or Baron Timothy O'Brien, if you know that gentleman.
And Kate Gore.
And yeah, Catherine Poor or Mistress Ekaterina Kovna Polipova. I can't believe that's a Russian name I could pronounce.
And for what position?
These are board nominees.
These are people that are nominated for directors currently, so Kate and Timothy.
Yeah. That's separate from corporate officers. That's a whole other thing. So. Sorry.
Outlands officers over there.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have an officer from the Outlands right there.
This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
or, you know, depending on your definitions of flat.
I love it. You're going away. Stay. If I could stay, I would.
Yeah. Okay, so, back to the agenda. So, and you covered representation, yes? Or-
No.
No, I'm sorry.
No, at this point, we do not have any board meet and greet or town hall type gatherings scheduled. If anyone is interested in hosting one, please let me know. So I can see about getting that arranged. 'Cause, and for those, the board likes to go out to different events and meet people one-on-one. So it does not have to be your, biggest event, like events with a good population, if possible, but it doesn't have to be a huge war or something. If you have an event and you wouldn't mind hosting a meet and greet, please contact me.
Yep.
Get with me, talk to you.
What's the time for that? So you're interesting probably, right? That's exactly what I'm thinking. Is that like, do you need to have 6 months in advance or is like a month in advance?
Enough time for us to
More is better.
schedule, yeah.
More is better, but, you know, basically enough lead time to where we can look at travel and that sort of thing and try to do so, you know, inexpensively. And it, you know, when you get selected for the board, I mean, we get put in the star chamber, so we only talk to each other. And these meet and greets are our chances to actually talk to members of the SCA to stay in touch with stuff. It was a joke, by the way, in case some people.
If you indulge me a little bit,
Please.
is it possible that, okay, it's the event we're thinking of is a month away, but you all don't have to come.
No,
No.
we wouldn't, I mean, what we would try to do is see who might be available, who lives closer, who has, you know, schedule opportunity, et cetera. It really is gonna come down to, you know, who might be available to do so, you know, who can travel economically if it's someone close by.
Who might be planning to go in the first place.
Yeah.
Anyway. So.
Or with the invitation, would that be the nudge to get them over the line and say, yeah, I can go to that?
Yes, we've done meet and greets with, as few as just 2 or 3 members present, up to having the full almost the full complement of the board. It all depends on, as Mark said, timing, who can make it.
Yeah.
Cost. So if the group wants to finance it, that
Yeah.
also, yes, or help subsidize the expense, because, I can pay for one person's ticket. But I'm like,
Well, we do not, we are extremely careful with your money, with the SCA's money, particularly post-COVID. That was a harsh lesson that the corporation got taught. What we all did. I mean, but certainly for us, that was a harsh lesson that the SCA got taught about the reality of what can happen under unfortunate circumstances. So we are, you know, thankfully our country and the world is starting to climb out of that, as are we, but it's still a long road for us, as you guys have no doubt seen, both, you know, in mundane life and in the SCA, to climb out of that financially. And we are still very, very careful with the SCA's finances, which is one of the reasons why we have not returned to an in-person meeting schedule in the way that we did pre-COVID. And we have found other, we have found other ways to try to conduct the SCA business. I mean, the fact that we are having an in-person meeting is a recognition, frankly, of the fact that as much as we have tried and been successful to one degree or another with Zoom meetings and alternative mechanisms to conduct the business of the SCA, what we have discovered what I suspect many of you have discovered in the course of your mundane lives, mundane work, and et cetera, is that in certain circumstances or for certain things, there is ultimately no substitute in some cases for in-person dialogue and interaction. We have figured out that we don't have to have as much of it as we did in the past. And we think, knock on wood, that a viable strategy for us on a go-forward basis, at least for the foreseeable future, we hope, and finances permitting, is to go to a model where we have 2 in-person meetings a year and not 4, where we can do the things, have the interactions around long-range planning,
which the video comes back up. All right, so please understand that we're working with hotel Wi-Fi here, and sometimes it just too much bandwidth gets taken up, and when that happens, my Zoom will restart. It happens periodically. I'm very sorry. We're doing the best we can with what we have. Fortunately, on the person hosting this is not in this room, so it's just our feed that you're losing. Not that that's the best, but
to continue the answer, those 2 in particular are the things that where we have found most drive us to the need for in-person discussion, is long-range planning and the budget.
But you do take donations.
We absolutely gratefully and
For specific
absolutely,
things.
absolutely. Here, well, I'm going to say yes because I'm not the exchequer. Not the first, and I'm going to point to Carolyn, and she's not the exchequer either. Who she's probably going to point you to Bonnie, who deals with that, because I know there's some stuff around how that works, but blissfully ignorant of those details, so I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
But we have somebody who does know those details, who can happily answer those questions.
And I might be able to answer them as well.
But I mean, the upshot is, with that history and backdrop, we're very careful and very circumspect with the SCA's money. And particularly when it comes to travel, particularly when it comes to our in-person meetings, particularly when it comes to, frankly, anything that's an expense. You've seen us make moves in the last few years to move our office, to take several other cost-cutting measures to lower the expense, the operating expense for the SCA. And I mean, we unfortunately, we've taken other measures, measures we should have taken years ago, to be honest. You'll note that we raised the membership price this year, which no, I apologize. Nobody likes having to do that. The fact is, the last time we did that was 10 years ago, and on an inflation adjusted basis, the membership increase we just did brings us to parity with where it was 10 years ago the last time we did it. And we probably should have been stepping through it in that 10 years in between. We didn't do that, and that combined with COVID and some other stuff is one of the things that particularly hurt us when COVID did happen, because it meant that there was 10 years of lost revenue. If we had kept up with inflation, that would have helped us a lot when membership went down and et cetera. Now, we have no intention to, we are members. I mean, there's no difference between us and you other than the side of the table we're sitting on. We have no intention to gather membership or to do anything like that. We don't make money from this. None of us.
Here.
The $2 that I get paid for being a director reading crayon, and that's what my granddaughter made them. So believe me, this is not for dollars. We absolutely will balance anything relating to how we may have to look at finances in the future, whether that's potential raises to membership fees, which we, don't want to do it, but we'll look at periodically over time, or other potential ways we may look at the business model for the SCA to see if there's other ways we may need to look at things, either to reduce costs or to look at different ways to generate revenue, et cetera. But regardless, we will be careful stewards of the SCA's money and the SCA's trust, to be honest. So,
Thank you.
back to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, could we have a short bio break before we move on to new business?
We absolutely could do that. We are at
12:04.
12:04. It's
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well, given the in and out, et cetera, let's call it 10, and let's say 15 past the hour. Welcome back to our board meeting. If memory serves, and the cursor on my screen, we have just completed item 3, and we're ready for item 4, old business. That would bring us to item 4A. This would be a proposed board change. Liz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking that the board approve changes to corpora that would remove references to courts of inquiry, courts of chivalry, and kingdom courts, where that language is clearly referring to that kind of courts as opposed to courts for the purposes of pageantry, award presentation, etc. The exact sections needing change are the glossary, corpora 3C4, corpora 4G9, corpora 4H numbers 6 through 8, and corpora 10B 4B. I had attached a red line of the changes to my report to the board. In the early days of the SCA, courts of chivalry were seen as kind of the medieval flavor of the game, and they tended to deal with things like disputes over territorial boundaries, someone perceived as not fighting honorably, perceived disrespect to the crown, that sort of thing. They weren't really intended to deal with serious behavioral issues such as harassment or sexual misconduct. And in recent years, they haven't been used much by kingdoms. Some kingdoms have either eliminated them entirely from law or written their laws in such a way as to just about prevent them being called. That concept doesn't seem to fit anymore with the way the SCA handles behavior issues. And it doesn't preserve privacy of either the complainant or the client. Gotta love technology.
Thank you, Evan.
I put this change out for comment on, well, Bridget did, on July 17, 2024, with a deadline of September 25th, 2024. By my count, we got 26 comments, which isn't very many. All but 2 of those arrived within the first couple of weeks, within the first 30 days of the posting. That commentary was overwhelmingly in favor of the change. We had 22 people saying do it and 4 saying don't. The comments included several royal peers who indicated either that their kingdom had removed that as too cumbersome or unsuitable for current SCA, or in some cases they presided over a court of inquiry or court of chivalry and thought it was a nightmare. Those who were opposed seemed to feel that a court of chivalry gave the accused person certain rights. I can't exactly, they didn't explain well what they meant in some cases. I can kind of extrapolate that they felt like maybe the accused person got to state their case publicly, but that's not. Also, there was some misunderstanding of people who thought that the name Court of Chivalry implies that it's run by or has to do with the order of chivalry. That may once have been the case in some places, but it hasn't been. It's no longer true. Now, there were a couple of respondents from kingdoms who have something at a lower level that they call a court of courtesy. That's usually called by the royal consort, where a few people kind of sit down with someone and say, don't you think you should think about how you're talking to people or whatever. Matters of discourteous behavior that don't necessarily rise to the level of SCA sanctions. and they wanted that custom to be able to continue. But as I noted in the explanation that I sent out with it, removing that, the references in corpora doesn't expressly forbid kingdoms from having some sort of mechanism like that. But it's just that any such laws or practices would need to be looked at to make sure they're in line with our current policies about misconduct investigations, and that task would mostly fall to the kingdom seneschal. I'm also going to note that when I posted those for comment, I threw in a couple of what I thought were editing cleanups. I changed, there were references to king and queen, and I changed it to sovereign and consort because that's the way we've been doing in corpora. And I changed, there was a sanction that specifically had a very outdated name. It used to be called proscription from active participation, and it's now called exile from the kingdom. And I changed that. There was one commenter that supported the general changes, but really was unhappy for some reason that I edited. Just noting that. I don't see the editing changes as being particularly relevant. But I'm asking that the board go ahead and approve removing those sections of corpora. I am not sure whether those need to be voted on individually by section, Leslie, or.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's all in reference to one subject matter.
It is, yes.
Well, to make it official, as it were, by consensus or without objection, we will vote on these changes in toto.
Okay.
By consensus, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the changes to the glossary of corpora 3C4, corpora 4G9, corpora 4H6 through 8, and corpora 10B4B as presented.
A motion from Director Fisher, a second from Director Shepherd. Is there discussion on this motion? Bud?
As a clarification, does that include the cosmetic corrections in this section's reference toward? Do we need to call those out?
I would think so. They're just editing.
They were in the same sections though?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I mean, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, then we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? With 6 in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That would bring us to items 4B. This is variances granted by the Society Seneschal.
Okay, this, excuse me. This came in a bit late, but because of the nature of the variance, Stacy and I requested that Louise add it to the agenda. It seems, sadly, that in the Kingdom of Artemisia, a couple of months back, I'm not sure of the exact timing, one of their territorial baronesses passed away. The term, Artemisia has terms, and the term of her and her husband was due to expire this month. He continued to the end of the term. They traditionally grant court baronies. They wanted to grant a posthumous court barony to her, which is, there's precedent in society, but Artemisia Kingdom law specifies that you have to be a member to receive an award. Her membership after she passed away just lapsed, would presumably have been renewed since she was would have still been a territorial baroness, but did not get renewed because, so they were asking for a variance to their kingdom law to allow them to grant this posthumous court barony without her having been a paid member because she's gone beyond our reach. This, on the presumption that the board isn't going to overturn this, they actually announced this at a recent court. I'm told there was not a dry eye in the place. The baroness in question was Keelan Inin Flaherty, and it was the barony of Sentinel's Key, and her husband was the baron who stepped down at the same time. So I am asking that the board uphold the variance that I granted for them to violate their kingdom law by giving her this posthumous award, even though after she had passed, her membership had expired.
Artemisia? Not Artemisia?
That's you.
Megan?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the variance
As presented.
that's presented by the Society Central.
The motion for Director Shea is there a second? Second for Director Pence. Is there a discussion on this motion? There being none, to move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. And please note for the record that I will exercise my option to vote and do so in the affirmative. Are there any directors opposed? And with 7 in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I don't think I'm going to be speaking out of turn if I offer condolences from directors and officers to the kingdom and the barony and the baron who has lost his wife.
Absolutely not. I think that brings us to item 5, new business. We've already handled item A, excuse me. This would bring us to item 5B. This is the addition to corporate policies, policy and conduct. Val?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So whenever I was a younger president, I last week. I asked the membership what they thought about transparency in the SCA. And I explained to the membership that there is a balance between what we need to do as a corporate organization and to have a little bit of or to kind of give some guidance to what the membership would like, or what some guidance on the rules and conduct of the SCA, which is what they asked for. So I got a lot of emails and I read through all of them, and the most of the emails were about sanctions and about having a little bit more transparency, like having a violation cited of some sort. So I know that I thought that it could be a little bit helpful if we had a policy on conduct and consolidated all of our rules that were across our handbooks, and so they all in one place, and presented in such a way so that maybe it would help with transparency in the future by the board if they choose to do so. There aren't any new rules added to this policy on conduct. This is the 3rd draft that I've worked on, and I'm hoping that it leads to better transparency, and I'm proposing it to the board of directors to look at.
The floor would be open for questions or comments on the policy, corporate policy as presented by the president.
As we discussed yesterday during the planning session, this is an outstanding start. We do need to make sure that we talk to some of the other officers about their policies and potential things that should be included in this. Outside of that, I think it's a great step forward. I've been in favor of this type of thing for a very long time. It still may not satisfy a lot of people because it doesn't get into the details of what the sanction was about, but it gives them a place to know the type of violation it is.
Director Kent?
Thank you so much for all your work on this, Val. I love this idea. One suggestion that I have that I think will also help our membership is in each individual section, as you're referring to the larger policies on behavior, I think if you could just add a little reference, like, please see this policy for more information. I think that would be super helpful, and yeah, I really love that you're putting everything together to make that sort of easily referenceable spot for our membership. Thank you very much.
So I'm gonna recognize myself and then Megan. So I want to make sure I'm on the same page with the progression, if I can call it that, Val, with which you see the potentially proceeding, not only with this, but ultimately with the direction that you see this going as far as increasing transparency. If I understand this would be a mechanism to consolidate, let's say, the various references from different documents into one place where we can reference them under the Office of Corporate Policy. And in some cases elevate them into that, in that hierarchy. And that would then facilitate as we continue to look, as we continue to look in the future on how we could potentially increase our communication, both with subjects and complainants and with the membership, with regard to when sanctions are levied, about what the potential things, what the infractions were.
That is
by reference to this.
That is correct, Chairman. The membership expressed that they wanted guidance on what type of behavior was acceptable and what the board looks at, or what violations to look at whenever they make decisions, or some of the decisions they make.
Okay, so this, then the follow on, okay, that's all that. Megan?
I'm super excited about this. One of the things that I've been talking about has been organizational trust for a while, and I think that this will go a long way to helping introduce some of that transparency that people are asking for. I'm super grateful for all the work you put into this. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Liz?
From the perspective of the Society Seneschal's office, Stacy, my soon-to-be replacement, and I have been talking for a while about an awful lot of the rules that people get in trouble for are, for some reason, located in an officer handbook, usually specifically the Society Seneschal's handbook. And we've been talking for a while about some of those things need to be moved where they're easier to find. And while it still needs, some editing work and so forth, Val's proposal is going to make the Seneschal job easier, I think. It will make it easier for us to cite things and easier for us to point people in the direction of, okay, here are the things you should not do. Some of which should be common sense, but don't seem to be. So I'm also on board with working on to get this in front of the membership, even though, it won't be primarily my job much longer.
Again, thank you for your hard work on this, and I think combined with the work that Liz and Stacy are doing, I think this is going to be an excellent tool also for our new sanctions investigator, the person that's heading that up. It'll provide guidance and structure for them when they are doing their investigations, and it will help focus their attention so that they can do their job in a more efficient manner, and I think provide greater transparency towards the membership. Thank you.
Sure. I'm gonna go ahead, Liz.
I forgot something that I meant to say during my, I just wanted to add, because I didn't think I heard it. There's, in what Val wrote, there's really nothing new. These are not new rules. They are things like, he's taking things like the bullying policy, like the policy that says parents are responsible for their children, things like that, and just kind of putting them in one place so that people can find them more easily, and then more details will still be contained in handbooks and such. I don't recall hearing that stated, and I thought it was important to say. Agreed.
I'm gonna recognize myself, and I don't want to gild the lily too much, but not guilty. In that case, Val, I'm gonna say that this is some brilliant, inspired work. This is going to clean up a lot, and not just for transparency, but this is going to clean up a lot of organizational reference, organizational management, and quite a few other things related to the operation and sanctions function in the SCA. So this has a potentially very significant impact, and so thank you very much for that. Gilding over, and say that for some reasons already stated, as well as some mechanical ones for numbering and a few other things, my initial reaction on this is that probably gonna need to be returned for further work. Because there is some renumbering and some fleshing out, some references that are gonna need to be added and what have you. So that I think that there's some additional work that needs to go into it, but the skeleton of what you have here, I don't even say the flesh that goes onto it. I mean, it's not, I don't think there's a ton of extra work, but that it's important enough that it needs to be done before we can accept it as is. But what you have here is very, very good. And important as has been said numerous times already. That is my suggestion to the directors, that we return it for further work. And for that matter, I mean, it may be, in addition to that as well, we may, additionally want to direct you to, work with the central and the other corporate officers to review their stuff for what, I'm going to call orphan policies or orphan rules that may need to be referenced from here that you have not already covered. So that we can kind of, one-stop shopping for, things that are of a like nature that may not have already been referenced from here. Because this is clearly the right way for us to do this kind of thing, and we should put all our eggs in this fairly well constructed basket. I'm building over.
I will definitely work with the other officers to put together our policy, and my hope is to present it at the next quarterly meeting.
So to make it official, by consensus and without objection, we should return this for further work to the society president.
Okay.
And again, by consensus and without objection, we should direct the president to work with the corporate officers to flesh out the proposal. Okay. Blessed, you have whatever you need.
I do.
Yeah. And again, thank you very much, Val. This is really good stuff. Don't get a big head.
I'll try to do it.
Big hat though, you can have that all day long.
I guess.
All right, next item, under new business, the annual report. Bridget.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I provided to the board and key officers who have relevant contact a draft of the 2023 annual report. Final feedback is coming in at the moment, but I would like to thank the board for their consideration of it so far, and also mention that we are hoping to resolve the last couple of outstanding edits, etc. We will be sending it off very shortly for a full edit, just to check in terms of clarity and consistency of language. Thank you very much to Carolyn for providing some updated financial figures to ensure that the 2023 data is correct. I'm a words person, not necessarily a numbers person, so I would rely on the expertise of our corporate treasurer in this file. So I would also like to thank the membership and participants for their patience with the 2023 annual report. We got a lot of feedback on last year's the 2022 annual report, and we've been trying to look at how we can enhance and build into the 2023 report. But the goal is to have it published in November once the board sees the final edit and approves it.
Excellent. Pending the final edits that you discussed and whatnot, I know we've all reviewed, and there were a couple of one or two feedback items, and there was the corporate structure item that was to be completed, but pending those items, I think the board gratefully accepts the submission as done, and we look forward to the final edit coming in a future meeting.
We'll be making that a priority, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That will bring us to item 5D, the budget report, Carol.
Well, we don't really have the 2025
the draft yet because we normally talk about that at this meeting. I will have it ready for you for the conference call in November. Now that I have more information on what to include in that. It's hard to believe we're already looking at 2025's budget when I still haven't cleaned up 2023's financial report. I'll tell you more about that during my report, so.
Excellent. And that will bring us to item 5E, Mark Society shuttling. Well, I don't know is.
Yeah, I think because we're having officer switch. Did you receive the actual resignation?
Then Leslie, I don't know if we strike this within the agenda or just table it back. Is that the thing that's going to drive this is not been received by item 5E.
Remanded or taken away.
By consensus, we will take no action on this item. By consensus of the objection, so ordered. Good. Well, you'll have to move to add that to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Vice Chair.
I move that we add item F under new business, hurricane relief.
Motion from Director Fisher. Is there a second? Second from Director O'Shea. Leslie?
Sure.
Could you please note for the agenda for the minutes that we are adding item F under new business? This would be titled Hurricane Extension, Hurricane Relief. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
And the responsible party is Director Fisher. Director Fisher, the floor is yours. Oh, excuse me. Directors in favor of adding an additional agenda item, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And I will exercise my option to vote and do so in favor of the motion as presented. That is 7 in favor, none opposed, and that motion passes.
When I was on the board the first time, unfortunately, Hurricane Katrina came. And at that point in time, we were still doing mailed out memberships and newsletters, but we also recognized that due to the various circumstances that people couldn't physically attend events. So we took the step to to extend memberships so that people wouldn't be paying for use of a membership that they couldn't use while they were dealing with more important things in their lives. We have discussed that the similar hurricanes that have happened recently have had similar impact on people, and they are busy rebuilding their homes, their lives, their families, and that we would like to extend their memberships to such a time that they are back in a position when they can participate in the LCA again. We have the good fortune that our director-elect has access to all the FEMA zip codes so that we are able to tell what regions we can specify this for. And I believe it affects just under 1,000 of a membership was the rough figure that we had, based on a quick initial survey.
Clarity, which we are referring to areas of Atlantia. I think there were some areas in, mostly Atlantia, but a few others that were affected by Hurricane Helene, as well as areas in Traneris. I think there may have been some areas of Meridians as well. We're also affected either by Hurricanes Helene or Milton. Certainly an area of I was personally not affected by Hurricane Milton, but for the grace of God, considering that I live 50 miles from Tampa, who was terribly affected, and I have a very large number of friends and loved ones who were affected, both in Traneris, in Tampa and Sarasota, and points on the west coast of Florida, as well as friends and friends and loved ones in the Western North Carolina Society, hail from the Kingdom of Atlantia originally. So I am grateful that the board is considering that, given the circumstances. I will recuse myself from any voting on this issue, considering it cannot be objected on the voting or its input from the. But speaking personally, I'm grateful that the board is considering it.
I think we've all seen the images. I think we can all appreciate that people's priorities need to lay elsewhere right now. But we don't want them penalized, so that's why we're proposing a minimum of a 3-month, or I'm proposing a minimum of a 3-month extension to their memberships, basically be tacked on to when it would normally expire. Oh, I get to do, I get this part too. He is refused. We just feel it's the right thing to do. It's as simple as that. Is there any further discussion? I would entertain it. Yes, sir?
Will you allow some discussion?
Certain.
I don't think 3 months is long enough.
One of the things we discussed was 3 months as a start, and then we're gonna see how things have been going. The post office usually is a good indicator on how things have been moving in those directions. So it was kind of a 3 months to get started.
We're very much aware that this is a moving target. So, and because Helene was September, this one was October, or Milton was October, we're basically gonna have to kind of monitor each situation. And as I said, thankfully, we have access to information that'll help us stay on top of that. But we're saying a minimum of 3 months. We'll certainly, if necessary and if appropriate, we will definitely consider going further.
Right, the 3-month time period will also bring us to the next quarterly meeting where if we need to, we can discuss it again.
Any further discussion?
One of the other things, just to kind of recap what we discussed, is anyone whose membership who's in one of those affected areas may have lapsed. Since then, it would be reinstated and they would be eligible for the same extension. No one should be penalized if we're going to be extending it.
No. Anyone else? All right, I would entertain a motion. Director Capps?
Vice Chair, I move that we accept your proposal.
You have to state it. Yeah.
Oh, accept the proposal that we are going to extend the memberships start date of retroactive to September 3rd for those in the affected zip codes as listed by Director-elect Stir for 3 months.
Minimum of 3 months.
Minimum of 3 months.
I have a motion from Director Capps, a second from Director Shepherd.
Because you were looking this way.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Do we have any further discussion? Okay, let's move to the voting then. All in favor, indicate by raising your hand or saying aye. I'm using my option to vote, my obligation to vote. See 6, that would move with 1 refusal, words are hard. Any opposed? So with 6 in favor, that motion carries. And the gavel back.
Say something really. As someone who's new to Colorado, new to the SCA, born and raised in Florida, and I have family and friends there, I'm just blown away. You're almost trying not to hold back tears. I'm just, you care. So thank you. You know, we do care.
Live down the road.
Right.
I live down the road.
20 years of Tremors. Yes.
Thank you.
Like I said, the only difference between us and regular members is the fact that we sit on this side of the table.
Yeah.
Make me cry.
I think we're all gonna cry together up here. It's fine.
Let's see. I believe that brings us to item 6, which is reports. Item 6A is the report of the tournaments. And that brings us back to Val.
All right, it's my turn again. Thank you, Chairman. So the SCA is a historical society, so it lives in the past, but the business organization needs to have its eyes on the future. And we need to look at different ways of making things easier for our volunteers and our members. Things like policy and conduct helps with the Seneschal's office. I have a few projects that I am working on that is designed to help make things better with the for the organization to run a little bit better. So one of the things that I'm working on is creating a working group for a group created to look at the possibility of e-banking and other ways to make our funds more fluid, so that we don't have to rely on things like checks and stuff like that, just to make that part of the game or that part of the organization easier to manage and quicker. So there's a working group that's formed that, and then a proposal will be put together for the board to review to make a decision on that. And then the other group is to look into simplifying the exchequer's office to make that office more accessible for the volunteers. And both of these working groups are going to be working in conjunction with the treasurer and the exchequer to try to make that part a little bit more efficient. And I believe the board wanted to explore different revenue streams. So we will be looking at that as well. So those are the financial aspects of what I'm looking at. We are, let's see, it's on my report. And some of the other stuff has been covered in other sections like the peerage and the conduct on policy. I would just like to take a moment to thank Liz for all of her help and getting me started and understanding a little bit more about how the corporate operation works. Her help has been invaluable, and it's a great loss that she is stepping down from this position. In general, recently we have gotten a lot of applicants or people who have expressed interest in helping the SCA in some form or capacity, and they come to us with professional experience that they are volunteering to us. And I'm very grateful for that, and I look forward to an expertise company for this site moving forward. Thank you.
Without high consensus or without objection, the board gratefully accepts the report of the president of the society. And without objection, so ordered. Moving forward. This would be item 6A1. This is the report of the IT manager. It's Sam Warren will be shot. Wow. Or excuse me, Jonathan. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I do have the report for the Manager of Information and Technology. Requested board actions. I asked the board to consider changing the deputy warrant policy. Currently, as it has been explained to me, all corporate and society deputy officer warrants expire at the time of the officer's warrant. I believe this leaves us vulnerable to corporate offices.
I recall us discussing this in the working session yesterday. I believe I'm correct in summarizing and saying that there was some discussion around what I would term the professional deputies versus policy deputies. I think that's neither here nor there with this particular item. There was also some discussion that regardless, even for the policy deputies, that having some overlap time would be useful. I don't know that I would say that we have gotten to any conclusion with that, although I think we were heading to say that certainly his request is well received, and that with some further discussion, I think we could get to one, but I don't know that we got there yesterday. I may, all of which leading to say, I don't know that we can take an action at this particular moment, although I think we could do so with some deliberation for the next conference call.
Okay, you just say we can look into it.
Yeah.
Policy interpretations. I ask that the board extend the variance for the East Kingdom to continue using their email system until February 2025. The variance was initially sought and approved in the April board meeting. In that meeting, the policy requiring officers to use their SCA provided officer email accounts. Their system is excellent and accomplishes everything desired by the email policy.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the variance extension for the East Kingdom as presented by the IT manager.
Motion by Director Bainter, second by Director Capps. Is there a discussion on this motion? Being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Any opposed? It was 6 in favor, none opposed. That motion carries.
New policies, none. General status report. Information technology continues apace. We have continued to pursue and mitigate security risks. Our system administrator has kept the server up to date and running well with regular maintenance. The website is regularly updated by Marla and the communications team. Our big project this quarter was the SharePoint project. While some progress was accomplished, it did not go as well as I hoped. Truthfully, that is all on me. I quickly realized I needed help, but the only way we could make appropriate use of SharePoint was to have someone on board who knew the true intricacies of SharePoint. To that end, I'm proud to announce that Tracy DeGarmo, Anne-Marie DeGarmello, has agreed to come on board as the SCA's first SharePoint champion. That is an industry term, not one I made up to sound cool.
Still sounds cool.
That's fine. Additionally, I would like to welcome on board Isabel Ian Belter as my special projects deputy. Partial summary. This was a quarter of status quo for the IT department. Systems and websites were updated, patches applied, and vulnerabilities squashed. While the SharePoint project has not yet achieved all of its goals, it has made progress. The IT department is proud and grateful to add Tracy DeGarmo and Isabel Lane to our team as SharePoint champion and special projects deputy, respectively. This concludes the report.
Excellent. By consensus and without objection, the board gratefully accepts the report of the Director for IT. And without objection, so ordered. And that will bring us to I believe the warrants were handled separately, Leslie.
Yes.
Thank you. That will bring us to item 6A2, the Society Communications Officer, Bridget.
Webmaster.
Yep. Oh, yep, sure, that's not a warrant. No, all right. 6A1C, the report of the Westminster, excuse me. Otherwise, I think that's going to be you too, you know.
There's no recording.
Yeah.
No report. Yes. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I do have that.
Thank you. This is the report of the Society Westminster. Requested board actions, none. Policy interpretations. The Kingdom of Aethelmark Seneschal and Westminster asks for an interpretation based on a policy that was being written, rolled out in their kingdom, concerning whether order business was considered official or unofficial, peerage and orders of high merit, and whether that data fell under the Kingdom Westminster's data policy. After reviewing the policy Aethelmark has in place and reviewing the Kingdom law of Aethelmark, I concluded that according to Kingdom law, all order business is considered official. The Kingdom Westminster and Seneschal spoke with the Crown and a meeting was requested with me. The Crown was concerned that the society was trying to dictate kingdom policy and questioned my ruling. I advised their majesties and his highness, who was also in attendance, that I made no ruling. My commentary was merely an interpretation of their kingdom law and data policy. As a society officer, I cannot make any kingdom do any specific thing. I am an advisor to ensure that written policies are not overlooked in any decision-making process. It is likely that there will be an edit to their kingdom law.
That'd be what we like to refer to as the law of unintended consequences. I believe that's, is there anything else with that?
No, that's just an invitation.
Okay. Does that require any board action? It's a king interpretation.
We're not hold it by consensus.
We
can make a motion or put a motion on it. Acknowledges or say it is within the purview of its office.
I mean, considering this is an interpretation of kingdom law and not Aurora stuff, so I mean, at one, I don't have the detail. And two, I'd say it's probably within the purview.
Yeah.
Okay.
For clarification, Liz, is that consistent with how we handle them for your office?
So interpretations of kingdom law, which kingdom seneschals typically do, and I sometimes have dealt with, don't normally come to the board to uphold unless it were to be appealed by a crown or something.
Thank you. I think we can just acknowledge with the old office.
Yeah. I'd say then by consensus, we acknowledge that we received it.
Okay.
Without objection, so noted. Please continue.
New policies? None. General status report. For this quarter, there were 7 kingdoms reporting out of 20. Of those 7 that filed a report, 4 responded with the following information. Aethelmark. Working through Westminster policy changes for the kingdom. The Westminster will also have a LOI posted for the next Westminster in the upcoming ASTO. They stepped down in April 2025. East Kingdom. East Kingdom has worked with Microsoft certified tax exempt status on our pay-as-you-go hosting. Due to changes in Azure grant structure, our grant no longer covers a full year of hosting. We have begun a new project to migrate remaining mailing lists in our mailman instance to Google Groups to adjust changes in Google bulk mail scoring that will hurt mailing lists that do not enforce an unsubscribe link in the message, something Mailman refuses to do. New procedures are being drafted and implemented to stand down websites and resources for branches and offices that go defunct. These will be consistent with our data governance policies and are being made in consultation with Kingdom Seneschal and Historian. Drakenwald. The current Drakenwald minister is overwhelmed with work and likely to step down further. I'm not even going to attempt this name. There is an individual taking care of the office until a successor has been found. North Shield. We continue to bring more of our Kingdom's group websites under the umbrella of the Kingdom site hosting. This quarter, we added 2 more groups. All of the groups have space under the Kingdom's WordPress umbrella, but have not all transitioned to that platform yet. I expect at least 3 more by the end of the 4th quarter. The new website for the Kingdom has largely been on hold for the summer. One of the developers is also a Pensive developer, which took precedence. And one has been having an attack of life and one had health issues. Those meetings will begin again next week, and we hope to be ready to go live with the new site by Wednesday. Publishable summary. The web ministry is undergoing several transfers of office, and few reports have been filed for this quarter. I expect the 4th quarter's report will be more robust. I contribute a lower percentage of reports due to school and work projects for most of the officers taking much of their time. As projects take considerable time to implement, there are fewer volunteers in several kingdoms. It has been difficult to obtain reports. However, in short discussions with the officers, when I was able to contact them, due to my own remarkably busy schedule, there are no issues other than the steady movement forward, keeping the kingdom web pages current and relevant. This concludes the report.
Excellent. By consensus and without objection, we gratefully accept the report of the Society Webmaster. And now that brings us to item 6A3, or 2, excuse me, the Society Communications Officer, Bridget.
Hello again, Mr. Chair. This report will also cover social media, just to ensure that the agenda is clear. So the board are currently reviewing the annual report as has been discussed previously. Moving to policy interpretations, I have 2 for the board's consideration. Currently, communications and social media is seeing officers interpret discussions of potential policy changes to their officers as being forbidden under Section 3JA of the social media policy. And that state says where SCA Corpora requires content to be published first through specific venues, for example, kingdom newsletters or websites, or through announcements in court, no person may publish content to any social media channel prior to that initial announcement. Examples include unapproved changes to law, policies, and handbooks. I'm asking the board to endorse the interpretation that this statement relates only to unapproved policy being presented as official policy. It does not apply to officers discussing potential policy changes related to their office with the populace, as this kind of discussion is both healthy and important for groups to undertake publicly where appropriate. All discussions should simply clearly identify that this is a discussion of potential changes. We're finding that officers, for the board's information, we're finding that officers have felt that they can't discuss any potential changes at all in an informal context. And so that's why people are not wanting to talk about it. Whereas when social media is acting as one of the hubs of discussion among kingdoms and various groups, as long as there are really clearly articulated that this is purely potential and we're just seeking opinion, I think that there is value in officers being able to discuss these matters, and would ask the board uphold that interpretation.
Open for any questions or motions to be made on the policy interpretation.
Motion. Mr. Chairman, I move we uphold the policy interpretation of the Society Communications Officer that the current Section 3JA of the social media policy only relates to unapproved policies being presented as official policy.
As a motion for Director Fisher, a second from Director O'Shea. For discussion on this motion. Buck?
This probably ought to be reworded to make that more clear. We're doing a policy interpretation now. Future generations may come across the same issue. Just something to think about, Bridget.
It's on my list for the next review, Pug.
Thank you.
As a hypothetical, Bridget, this is a question. Assuming that we approve the motion as presented, what would differentiate the discussion of a potential change from the official quote unquote discussion of a change?
Obviously, an official call for commentary on proposed language would be a very clear, a clear delineation, in my opinion, that this is our proposed language for a change, or is different to, hey, we're hearing some things happening in this space and we're considering this. What are people's thoughts?
Concern that having a discussion around a potential change. You know, that in making this interpretation, and as you noted, having that healthy, you know, intertone, that by the time it gets to the official discussion, that there is some perception that things are quote unquote a done deal. Is there any concern about that?
Some of that will have to come out a little bit in practice, Mr. Chair. It's going to be specific to the, I suppose, culture of your groups and kingdoms about how this is. So my office will continue to work with all the officers to support that. But we are seeing that some officers are feeling they can't talk about their officers in social media settings apart from just flat statements, and that's not healthy for groups. So this is hopefully going to address this while we look at refining the language in the next version of the handbook and policy.
So with voting, directors in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye or raising a hand. Any opposed? That's 6 in favor, none opposed, and that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My second request for interpretation relates to a slight variation on one the board previously discussed, looking at email lists and conduct on email lists. The board previously approved that the management of email lists would fall, sorry, I'll start again to make that clearer. The web minister and I discussed the fact that there can be blurring at times of the lines between what is social media responsibility and what is web when it relates to email lists. What we did say was that the technical management of email lists may fall under the web. Behavioral requirements should be consistent with that of social media so that we have clear, you know, one size fits all in terms of this is the society standard for online behavior in these formats. We have had feedback that not every kingdom manages their email list under the web office. So what we are asking is to refine that and just say, noting that the management of email lists may fall under a variety of offices in different kingdoms. The board is asked to endorse the interpretation that the conduct requirements for email conduct are consistent with expectations for social media, so purely making this a conduct requirement, and noting that behavioural issues remain, that the enforcement and management of behavioural issues remain that of the office of the seneschal.
The floor is open for questions or motion. Pug?
I move that we accept the policy interpretation with regards to email lists and the technical and conduct requirements as laid out by the Corporate Communications Office.
Motion by Director Bainter, second from Director Shepherd. Is there discussion on this motion? There being no, move to voting. Directors in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Any opposed? And with 6 directors in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving to general status report. We are currently developing a plan for video education sessions relating to corporate and society officer roles to support people's understanding. We're also looking to lean more into the video space to provide more direct, regular communications from the board, the president, and other key officers as required. I'm very happy to say that a new editorial deputy as well as a content creation deputies will be joining the communications team in Q4. Thank you to those people for volunteering. We are also looking to add a community manager once they currently move from somewhat other responsibilities involving a reign. Utilizing more engaging visual content, including infographics, reels, and photo galleries is what we're looking to do to really try and keep capturing that visual richness of events and activities. We're also looking at behind the scenes posts really showcasing the hard work of volunteers and participants to create more relatable content and get people understanding those different elements of what goes into putting on one of our events. We're looking as well to continue promoting major events like Pennsic, Great Western War, Gulf Wars, Lilies, all of the events all around the world, like Double Wars. And really looking at how we can work with kingdoms to amplify their content. Big thanks to those people who continue to provide live coverage of tournaments, arts displays, court announcements via social media. This really helps engage both in-person attendees, but also the broader online community. That's part of actually tying into the fact that this is part of how we make our society more accessible. And as part of that, we continue to spotlight DEIB initiatives by sharing stories and content from different cultures and traditions represented in the society, as well as non-European historical research and activities. Moving to publishable summary, we continue to work on building trust and understanding through effective communication. In 2024, we continue to work with officers and participants right around the globe in the known world to build the understanding of the mechanics of our organisation, realise the opportunities to improve it, and continue to learn, grow and evolve. We'd like to thank everybody who has provided feedback and assistance for the improvements that have been made so far and those we will continue to make in the future. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Bridget. By consensus and without objection, the reports of the the Society Communications Officer and Social Media Officer combined are gratefully accepted. And once again, Bridget, that's some awfully good work. Without objection, so ordered. And noting item 6A4 for Society DEIB Officer, I believe that for pending on that report.
Yeah, pending a report.
So we will take no action on that one. Item 6B, this is the report of the Society Seneschal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My action items have been dealt with previously in the meeting. It was the changes to corpora, the warranting of my replacement to soon take effect, and I had added my voice to the IT manager about the warrant situation, which the board has begun working on. Policy interpretations. Yeah, that's policy interpretations. I'm not sure that this counts as a policy interpretation per se, because I can't find that the policy actually exists in writing anywhere. But related to experiences we've had regarding commentary recently on changes to corpora and such, including the change that the board just voted on, I'd like the board to move from a 60-day commentary period on proposed changes to the organizational handbook to a 30-day period as the standard. This does not require any changes to any bylaw, corporate policy, or corpora. Historically, those have been put out with a 60-day comment period. That made a lot of sense back in the days when everybody got that information through newsletters, or even back when TI was included as a membership going back to the dark ages. But today, the main way people learn about it is through the internet, either official social media platforms of the SCA or the SCA.org website, or the email list that you can sign up for to get announcements. And further, the commentary is, as far as I know, exclusively during my tenure, emailed rather than sent to the corporate PO box via postal mail. 60 days is not a necessary time frame anymore, and it slows actions and needed changes quite a bit. I've had this discussion with, I know Val for sure, and probably other officers too. As a good example, the two most recent changes I've put forth, everything was received almost, with one or two exceptions, within 30 days of it's being posted to the website and being announced through the announcements list and so forth. And so that seems to be, people who are going to comment are commenting more quickly than 60 days. Nowhere in the governing documents does it actually state that 60 days commentary is required. The exact wording in Corpora is, under normal circumstances, the board will publicize proposed changes to Corpora in sufficient time to allow comment from the membership before making a final determination. Identical wording is found in the bylaws and the corporate policies regarding their changes. There is a stipulation in Corpora that Kingdom administrations will get 60 days notice once a change is made to give them time to enact it. Sometimes that's not really something they have to worry about, but if they do, they get 60 days to implement it. So given our modern methods of communication and the habits of the membership, most of the commentary actually gets in within a week or two. It makes sense for the board to adopt a practice of allowing 30 days as standard. And since there's no precise statement, if it's not written anywhere, it could be altered to a longer time frame in a given circumstance if the board saw that as desirable. So I'm I guess I'm making a policy interpretation that 60 days isn't necessary and asking the board to consider generally putting things out for like 30 days.
There's a question from the audience. Yes.
A comment, as an old fogey, don't cut us old people out. Or people who don't do computers.
Noted. Board discussion.
Give me a moment. Quick glance through a couple of things. Yes.
So you're trying to go to one. On a personal note, I find it amusing that we're making a policy interpretation of a policy that positive.
Mechanically speaking, the way that we would do that would be to direct the Society of Seneschal to adopt the practice of it.
Right, yes.
Since it's not a policy. Yes, Coach.
Question for Louise. How many responses in the last year or two have we received via postal mail on commentary we put up?
I would say you're asking how many times have we received commentary through the mail versus the email? We don't receive a lot, but we maybe one per quarter, if less. And whenever I do receive them, I scan them and provide them to the board. But I would say most of our commentary is coming digitally at this point.
Walk at it from the other direction. I mean, when we post a post before a change, I mean, those of course also get published in the newsletters that go out. I don't know the practice, so I mean, is there any particular practice between the posting of those online versus when the newsletters are mailed? And, you know, as far as when those coincide and when the clock starts, as far as the 60 days that we currently use is concerned?
I'm not the person who can answer that question. That would be Louise or Leslie, I believe, who would have more of a handle on that.
But who posts them on the website?
I thought it was Bridget.
Bridget posts them on the website.
And
And Mr. Chair, I can speak to this.
Please, Louise.
So the newsletters are sent to me by the publications manager, and I currently post them on the website. I believe she sends them to me as soon as she has them all. And as far as I'm aware, she sends them to the printer at the same time. So I am able to post them immediately. And then there's, of course, a little bit of lag time for the printer to print them and send them out. So if that's what you're asking, I would say that the newsletters are available digitally before they're available in print.
So, I mean, in terms of lag time, if you will, between the time they are available digitally versus when they're available in print and mail, And I recognize that this is not a question you can actually answer with any certainty, but if we were going to estimate, what the lag time is between the time they're posted online versus the time these things are generally delivered to the home for the folks who are getting them by mail, is it 10 days?
If we were going to craft a policy around this, I would say give it a minimum of 2 weeks. Due to the intricacies of the postal system. I'm not really sure. I read them digitally. But I would say give it at least 2 weeks. And yeah, 2 weeks seems reasonable. If anybody out there receives them via paper and wants to correct us, that would be fine.
Sure. As a member who receives his newsletters by post, I can tell you that I give them about a week to 10 days after they're sent.
Mr. Chairman, what I'd point out is that the deadline for the December newsletter is this week. So if you were to make a ruling today, they would probably get it in the December newsletter, which is going to arrive 40 days from now. So if you're only giving 60 days to commentary from something you say today, if everything goes splendidly and they get the newsletter on December 1st, they will have 18 days to get their commentary to Louise before that 60 days expires.
And that's with the 60 we use today.
That's what the 60 we use today, because we are now 42 days away from December 1st, but the deadline for the December newsletters is this week. So that's why the 60 days was put into place. I hear you. I would love to see things go faster. It's not realistic, unfortunately, because we do have some members who rely on the postal service.
Leslie has.
Also, and I don't know, Liz may be able to speak to this, but what is the requirement for official notification? Is it still the newsletters?
Official notification for events, you mean?
Bylaws changes, it's,
And it's still required that it has to be in print.
I'm reading it right here. It's
So what,
amendment to the bylaws. These bylaws may be altered, amended, or repealed, and new bylaws may be adopted by the unanimous consent of the board. Such amendments and alterations must be made in writing and must immediately be placed in the records of the SCA and appended to copies of the bylaws available to the membership.
so,
Which I would generally interpret to mean newsletters.
so that may be your issue here.
That's
is-
kind of where I'm reading.
For the newsletters.
Yeah. Just one moment, please. Thank you. Under normal circumstances, the board will publicize. I mean, you're exactly correct. Right. I speak English. I really do. You're exactly right. There is no specific commentary period. There is on the other side for implementation.
Right.
There's no specific commentary period, but as I interpret 12.1, the newsletters is the driving force behind that and the thing that would start the clock when it gets in. You're talking to the camera. The young lady in the back, and then you, sir.
So I would like to point out that officer letters for the kingdom are due on the 5th. And the chronicler sends them by, I believe, the 11th of this month. And they'll be published digitally, at least I received a copy by the 15th of November for December. So I don't think the lead time is as long as you believe it is, sir.
Sir?
I'm under the impression that the online newsletter and the paper newsletter are identical.
They are.
Fair.
Then it doesn't matter. If they're identical, one comes out before the other still, it meets the requirement of being in the newsletter.
It does, yes. Yeah. The direction the board wants to take in this, and we've heard some pros and cons. Let's go with.
I'm of the opinion we don't have a policy today. We have a guidance. And it is up to the Society Seneschal office for that, unless we say otherwise.
I believe that is correct. Megan?
I mean, I'm torn because I like the idea of things moving faster, but I also think it's important that we get commentary from all of our members. Do we think we could put this out for commentary to see what people think? We're having a conversation about a conversation, but like, I think that, I mean, could be worthwhile.
To ask this question. How long do you put that out for?
45 days, 45 days.
So un-American.
Part of the challenge, if we're trying to cover 100% of our constituency, are international members who have subscriptions. Probably won't necessarily receive it even within that.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to have 100% coverage.
Well, and I think the difficulty with putting it out for commentary is the thing that things we will put out for commentary are policy changes, bylaw changes, things of that nature. This is essentially an operating function of the central office. Because the way our governing documents are written, it's essentially left to the purview of the senatorial to make decisions on this. I mean, unless the board specifically directs the senatorial to handle it in a particular way. I mean, it is a courtesy that the senatorial is asking us to say, hey, I'd like to do it this way. Do you have any objections? And me, I'm just doing the math to see what does that do and does it work? I mean, unless we specifically told her otherwise, she's within the purview of her office to do it in the way that she's describing. At least that's the way I'm looking at it, unless somebody disagrees. But Evan's point is well taken. I mean, looking at the time lag between. I mean, well, some of that is it's a good thing that the senatorial is also the one that interprets corpora. Because if we're talking about 30 days from when the corpora change hits the newsletter, i.e. when the newsletter is posted, then the fact that there's some lead time for the production of the newsletter is immaterial because the clock starts when the newsletter is posted. So the fact that there was 30 days or whatever it was to get there doesn't matter.
It's been my habit with the corpora changes, including the one that just went out that is not on the board agenda yet to consider. That when I send it off to Bridget and to Leslie, I set a deadline. So let's say I get it out on September 18th. I'd say have it November 25th. 60 days plus a few to allow for things not going out quite as promptly, because sometimes people have life and they can't get to it that day or whatever. That has been my custom. I mean, I'm not going to be doing this much longer, so Stacy's call, not mine, but that's what I have been doing with them.
I will note there's a suggestion from the audience to consider 45 days, and then I will recognize
Just to be clear, the policy as currently written on the actual changes is from date of mailing, which I would consider the publication on the website.
That is the way I interpret that as well.
And as Evan mentioned, the deadline for the publication, if we get it one day after that, that adds a significant amount. So I think setting it based off that expected publication date is the correct path forward, which will vary depending on when we approve it.
So, go ahead.
So I would suggest a 30 days from the next newsletter publication that by release.
So just walking that through, man, I'm really ill-informed. What's the normal publication deadline?
The 11th.
11?
Well,
12?
I have to get items to the chroniclers in toto by the 25th for like the 25th of this month would be December's deadline.
Good.
That's when I have to get it to her.
What I'm hearing is it varies from kingdom to kingdom. In Leslie's kingdom, it's 25th of the month.
No, Leslie.
No.
No, that's the board stuff.
Or it's more so, have support.
Publications, which is all but.
In my kingdom is 25th of the month. It sounds like Outlands, it may be the 5th of the following month. Outlands Chronicler is awesome. It gives themselves a 6-day window to get everything in and over to corporate. All the other kingdoms I know of, and that's only 3 or 4, require about 2 weeks. And so the cutoff is significantly shorter than the other kingdom and the board.
I think the one that matters, though, they all matter, don't get me wrong. But I think the one that's relevant to us is Leslie's cutoff, because that's the one that we would have to be worried about.
And I think that's the more standard cutoff, but that's the one I know of in multiple kingdoms.
So Leslie's cutoff is the 25th of
This month. So it'd be this week for the December newsletter.
right. So yeah, okay.
So you're back to the scenario I originally suggested.
And the December newsletter gets posted when?
The second half of November.
November 15th.
Mid-November.
Mid-November. Okay, so just I'm that guy. So if I'm walking it through, walking through the scenario, if we were to do, if we were to want to post if we were to decide to publish a forum change for commentary today. Leslie would put that out on, on the 25th. That would be in the December newsletter, which would be posted mid-November. Let's call that the 15th. Don't mess me up with real dates. Let's call it the 15th. And so hypothetically speaking, we'd be looking at 30 days from the 15th if we were to adopt the 30 days. Correct. That seems reasonable. Is that more or less what you're looking for, Liz, or?
Yeah, I have to admit that I was not thinking so much about the newsletter publication dates as the fact that I see everything goes up online.
Yeah.
Which it comes close to 60 days then anyway, from the point that it's actually approved by the board. Not, it always takes a while to get them put up, but
Do these changes only come out of board meetings?
By definition, yes, but we have conference calls that are also board meetings. So.
I'm just wondering because you announced like a couple hours ago that January 25th and 26th are the Q1 2025 board meetings, and that would be like after these updates, right?
Yeah, that would be the next quarterly meeting. Yeah, we also have conference calls.
Okay.
We're meeting once a month essentially.
It only being once a quarter and something like in limbo forever.
Yeah, we regularly meet at least once a month, and if necessary, we will have ad hoc meetings in between. Because we hate ourselves.
It's love conference calls.
We love you. And we love soon. So.
So much.
Does that mean?
yeah, I guess, this is gonna fall to Stacy, so you're going to be.
Good news is, you don't really need us to do anything, so.
Okay. So you're saying purview of the office?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, so noted, thank you.
That was a long time to get to nothing.
Sorry.
Welcome to our world. Magic of the board.
Okay, so with your permission, I'll continue, I guess. Okay, normally we do these posted, but nobody's gonna fire me right now, so I'm gonna go ahead. Hit a few of my commendations. This is my last meeting as Society Seneschal. And I can't begin to list all the people who have helped me over the last 4.5 years that I've been either elect or in the office. But by far the most important one, and he's not listening to this because he's not a policy wonk and he doesn't care about, is my husband, my long-suffering spouse, Eric Schreier, Sir Eric Lodoexon. He's supported me. He's listened to me vent. Nothing sticks inside his brain, so it stays. He's given up things we might have done together because I've had this demanding job. He has enthusiastically admitted that he's looking forward to getting his wife back, but he's always been there. and I don't think the support of spouses and significant others to people who take high SCA office or be on the board or whatever is always recognized like it should be. And the person I want to mention is my dear friend and former protege, Carol O'Connell, Countess Plana in Kerbal, who checked in on me a lot during my tenure. She would ask how I was doing. Did I need a break? And she was just wonderful. I had 2 emergency deputies, one of them sitting at this table until the board stole him away. Shep Shepherd, and the other one has been Stacy Hall. Stacy has miraculously not run away screaming, but it's poised to drive the crazy bus. And both of those 2 people have become close friends, and they're both fellow policy wonks. I'm going to mention Patrick Anderson, who was the former SCA legal counsel. It's all his fault. He talked me into this. John Fulton provided a ton of support as president. He was a terrific colleague and boss. 90% of the time we agreed, and when we didn't, usually we were saying the same thing in different words. Leslie, Bridget, Louise, Louise's predecessor, Renee Signorati, Lee Clark, who was my investigations deputy and is an old friend, Ellis O'Byrne, and Evan, all have been great sources of advice and reality checks. All 60 of the Kingdom Seneschals with whom I've worked during my time in office. You people are remarkable. You're the oil that keeps the machine running. I've got a stable of people who work and have worked behind the scenes as society level investigators. They know who they are. I appreciate every one of them. That's just some of the people who have helped with this. Okay, publishable summary. I regret having to start my final publishable summary with a reminder of an SCA rule, but it seems necessary. Society rules always are in effect regardless of what additions or specifications an event or a kingdom may make. And the SCA's policies regarding the participation of those who are below the age of legal majority are contained in the Seneschal's Handbook. Primary among those rules is this: parents or guardians of minors shall have ultimate responsibility for the welfare and behavior of their children at all times. This policy wording was approved by the Board of Directors at the July 2019 quarterly meeting. I looked it up, but I remembered it anyway from the discussion around it at the time online, and it remains in effect. It should be unnecessary to remind parents that they are responsible for supervising their children appropriately at any and all SCA functions, but it seems that a small minority of people are in need of that reminder. If a minor attends an SCA function with someone who is not their parent or legal guardian, another relative or something like that, then the person named on that required minor medical authorization form is responsible for the supervision, safety, and behavior of that minor. And event staff, even if they're offering activities that are specifically planned for children or teens, are not babysitters or caretakers of those children. That responsibility lies with their parent or guardian. And after that reminder, here we are at the part I always write last when I write my reports. In my time in this position, I've worked with 60 Kingdom Seneschals, 17 directors, soon very briefly to be 18. I've seen a complete turnover in the corporate office staff and most other senior positions. All of these folks, even those I've disagreed with or had arguments or counseling sessions with, have, I'm convinced, always had at heart the long-term good and survival of the SCA or their particular section of it. The work of Kingdom Seneschals, society officers, and directors is a labor of love that would make no sense if it wasn't for the love of the community we have here. By far, the major perk of working at the society and corporate level is the amazing people one gets to meet and work with. That was true years ago when I was a director myself. It's still true. When my warrant runs out, it will be 4 years, 6 months, and 3 days since I got the call from President John Fulton telling me the board had chosen me to be Society Seneschal elect. I'm a bit of a numbers geek.
Who's counting?
Calendars, I do calendars in my head a lot. It's just a thing. At that time, we were about 6 weeks into what was proved to be about a 15-month complete drought of in-person events thanks to COVID, followed by a cautious and slow return to normal SCA activities. I stepped up 3 months later ahead of schedule, I had to become a public health expert and a bit of a video star, neither of which I had on my society officer bingo card when I applied for the job. I applied for this job with the idea of building up relations with Kingdom Seneschals and aiding them to make their jobs easier, continuing improvements that were then in their infancy with regard to how we deal with problem entities, and helping to guide policies. Not everything has happened the way I wanted or expected or moved as far as I would have liked, but progress has been made. I have to say by far the most rewarding part of this job has been, for me, has been being the Kingdom Seneschal Whisperer. And I've made some lifelong friends in that role, at least I hope so. Other things have been less pleasant. Nobody wants to deal with the less pleasant behaviors that people occasionally exhibit, but that's a tiny minority of the membership. And with all those things that happened that nobody expected during the most challenging couple of years the organization ever faced and beyond, the SCA abides. Most Kingdom Seneschals are reporting to me that attendance is up and volunteerism, which had been taking a hit even before the pandemic, is on the rise now as well. Younger, newer members are beginning to step into leadership positions. What will they build on the foundation that started with that backyard party long before they were born? I'm pretty excited to see it. My successor as Calentier's Kingdom Seneschal back in the day used to say that being Kingdom Seneschal was the hardest job you'll ever love. I have to say Society Seneschal has been the hardest job I'm ever going to love. I'm grateful to have had this opportunity. It's been tremendous, taxing, rewarding, and I've given it my very best shot. To paraphrase what we sometimes say about event sites, I hope I'm leaving the place a little better than I've found it. With all its little bumps and warts, it's still a beautiful society. To everyone, stay well, be kind to each other, and have fun with this hobby of hobbies. I'll see a lot of you around, hopefully for years to come. I'm not really a crier, but
I got
it. And I believe that concludes my report.
And not only for a report well delivered, but for an office well executed through adversity and through triumph by consensus and without objection. The report of the Society Seneschal is gratefully and humbly accepted. And without objection, so ordered. In the law.
Not say words.
Still stealing your chef, it's okay.
Might want to keep the tissue. Just say. Where I need it.
I need a bigger box.
Item 6B2.
I think I get that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, follow that one up.
Society Youth Activities Officer, she said she was gonna be traveling, her course shorter. Let's see, requested board actions, none, policy interpretations, none, new policies, none. General status, ongoing projects. She's had a decline in attendance in her Zoom meetings in the last 6 or 8 months because everyone's busy with actual SCA and family issues and projects. Resources she puts on, she has put up a lot of YouTube videos and so forth that she's sharing with Kingdom Ministers of Youth for parents and families and youth. There are at least 3 teams that have updated or added youth officer handbooks and have worked or are working on page schools and similar projects. Kingdom youth officers are working on adding family activities and working on how to work with the whole family, not just youth, for inclusion within the SCA. Aurora is looking at warranting classes for ministers of youth. Aidenville has started an Aidenville Families Guild. She went to Penzic, helped out, introduced herself around at the youth and teen classes. Publishable summary. Kingdoms are creating youth and family programs to ensure all ages can participate in the society through fun and productive activities. Outside of official youth activities such as boffer and classes, I have seen and heard of increases in youth, teen, family participation in archery, thrown weapons, quote, adult classes, and other areas that have been, quote, traditionally more adult-centric. And that is her report.
Any questions and whatnot regarding the report? Then by consensus and without objection, this report is also gratefully accepted. And that will take us to item 6C, the report of the Vice President for Corporate Operations. Louise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm back. Here is the report for corporate operations for third quarter. Requested board actions. They've been presented in the executive session. No policy interpretations or new policies. General status report. We are now able to process insurance certificate requests for the next calendar year. I know that's all very exciting for you. Insurance requests are handled and processed through to our broker within the week they are received. However, going into the busy holiday season, please remember to leave at least 30 days prior to your event for processing. So if you've got your 2025 practices and events, feel free to send them to insurance@sca.org. On a related note, we are working with our insurance broker and our equestrian marshal to explore alternative options for equestrian insurance coverage for the next year. So hopefully, as we're just starting those talks, hopefully we'll have some good news there. Beginning in August, we have begun invoicing for NMR payments that come through to the corporate office via QuickBooks. This should help streamline the process, reduce paperwork for all involved, and keep important and timely payments out of the paper mail. And thanks very much to James Baker, our NMR deputy, for making that happen. The office continues to maintain an inbox zero level on membership at sca.org. The membership FAQ is being updated, and we've also been adding some videos to help with answers to frequently asked questions and solutions to common user issues. As always, reach out to membership at sca.org if you have questions, insurance@sca.org for insurance questions, background checks at sca.org for your background check questions, or your Kingdom Seneschal. And that's it for that one.
Questions? Then by consensus and without objection, the report for the corporate, the Vice President of Corporate Operations is gratefully accepted. And without objection, so ordered. That would bring us to Publications Manager, 6C1.
This is the section of the meeting that is the me show. I will now present the report by Gloria Woodard, Publications Manager, known in the Society as Honor of Restermel. No board actions, policy interpretations, or new policies. General status report. The publications team continues to provide quality and informative publications for the SCA community. Publishable summary. The publications team produces monthly Kingdom newsletters, Quivers and Quarrels, the newsletter for the archery community, Tournaments Illuminated, and complete Anachronist publications. If you're not familiar with our quarterly publications, take the opportunity to look through them. Subscriptions are available through the SCA bookshop at sca.org. If you are part of the archery community and have artwork, research, or articles you're willing to contribute, please email the editor at quiversandquarrels, all one word, at yahoo.com. And that's the report of the Publications Manager.
Questions, comments? Then by consensus and objection, the report of the Publications Manager is gratefully accepted. And without objection, so ordered. Item 6C2, the Tournaments Illuminated report.
Tournaments Illuminated reports by Darcy O'Neill, known in the Society as Riordan McGregor. Owing to complications in my modern life, have led to an unforeseen pause in production. The next issue of Tournaments Illuminated is expected to be finished before the end of the year. Submissions as well as questions about quest topics are welcome and should be sent to the editor at tieditor@sca.org. That is the report from TI, and also from a corporate operations perspective, I do want to note that we will be having some updates to Tournaments Illuminated very soon. We are aware that only one issue has come out this year, and we will be working to rectify that. And that's it.
Then by consensus and without objection, the report for the TI is also accepted. We will be moving on to item 6C3, complete anachronist. Somehow I think this is going to be another item in the Louise show.
It's generally Ellen Rawson is able to join us, but she's not able to, so I will be presenting her report. Ellen Rawson, the complete anachronist editor, known in the SCA as Ariel of Lindisfarne. Let's see, general status report. The 2024 quarter 2 CA, issue 204, is Women's Kentish Clothing, an illustrated guide to women's clothing in Anglo-Saxon Kent. That is the next one coming out. That one may have already just come out. In fact, by the time I'm saying this out loud to all of you, Complete Anachronist 205 is going to be about ancient divination. And that sounds very interesting to me. And we are still working on details for 206, Hanseatic foodways. There are a number of other pending manuscripts. And I think that is it. Oh, unless you want me to read the, would you like to know the elevator pitch for women's Kentish clothing? It's about women's Kentish clothing. It sounds very interesting.
Noted. Any questions? Then by consensus and without objection, the report on the complete anachronist was great. Item 6C4, excuse me, Society Chronicle.
This one's very short and sweet. Crystal Smith, known in the society as Mistress Cecilia Blythe. In fact, as a note, I believe her term has ended. Oh, no, her term is ending next year. Don't panic, everyone. No requested board actions, policy interpretations, working on a response to those people looking for a change to requirements for baronial newsletters. There are no plans to change that policy at this time. General status, Black Fox nominations are in. Judging is about to begin. Publishable summary, no problems to report, still in need of a deputy chronicler. And I think that is the end of the publication show for me.
Questions on that report? Then by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Chronicler is gratefully accepted. And without objection,
thanks, everyone.
So ordered. Item 6C5, Society Archivist. I believe I saw Travis. Yeah, he's here.
I'm here. I'm just having technical issues. Thanks for reading all that, Luis. That's great. I'm glad to read this. You're much more entertaining than I am, but just to go along with things, the archive's physical condition remains unchanged. The archival guardians, Neko no Mao and Sebastian Descatz, have been continuing their vigil, keeping the archive pest-free for those of you who are concerned. The archive continues to receive inquiries for questions, and we try to answer those as properly as possible. But this led to the digitization of several documents, and they'll be added to the digital archive and eventually made available to our members. The archives has continued to work with on creating finding guides for the various boxes of files that we have, which will make it easier for you to research. So hopefully I can work with the Kingdom Webminsters, the Society Webminsters and the IT department to make those available online. So you can save a step. Instead of just emailing me directly, you can look up and see, do we have it? And that'll also help us find out if we're missing anything, which, you know, sometimes we do. Like I'll go through the archive and I'll go, January, February, and then end up September, and I'll be like, man, I wish I knew what happened in between. We're working with some members of the populace here in Artemisia on a project that we're calling 1001 Artemisian Nights with a K there. And the idea is to start oral history projects among the various peers and members of our kingdom. And we hope to use it as a template that we can expand, that people can submit their own StoryCorps style SCA stories so that we can preserve more of the culture and history of the SCA through the archive and share with people. That'll be something great that we hope to share with Bridget and other folks in the media things to be able to connect with people. We've also been attempting to reach out to preserve Stefan's Florilegium. Oh, I said that horribly. And its digital assets. It recently went offline, and so now it is technically on archive.org, but we don't know how long that will show up there. And so what we're hoping to reach out is find out if we can get a hold of the person identified as the caretaker on the website, if anyone has any contact information with him, so that we can work on getting permissions to digitize that and save it in the digital archives. And then finally, if you are a chronicler, please copy the digital archivist on any of your submissions, and that'll save us a step to make sure they're put into the digital archives for publication or for preservation there. And that can be sent to digitalarchivist@sca.org. And yeah, that's the same thing for the publishable summary and all. And thank you once again for supporting the archives and letting us preserve your history and tell your stories.
Very much, sir. Do any directors have any questions or comments for before we? All right, in that case then, by consensus of without objection, the report of the Society Archivist is gratefully accepted. And without objection, so ordered. It has been brought to my attention that, ladders work. And so we are going to take a 15-minute recess. That would bring us to 2:20 to allow folks an opportunity to refresh themselves. So we will stand in recess for 15 minutes. Thank you all very much. Welcome back, everyone, and we will proceed. We left off just after report of the Society Archivist, and that will bring us to item 6B, which is the report of the Society Treasurer. Here
follows my report to the Board of Directors for the October board meeting. Requested board actions, none this report. Policy interpretations or changes, again, none. New policies, none. That doesn't mean we haven't been busy. Commendations. I would like to thank all of the Kingdom Exchequers who've been diligently working on their consolidated financials. Those have been completed, although I do have a few minor changes I need to go back and make. And we did start the audit at the beginning of September. And they have been very prompt about providing the materials requested by the auditors. In fact, they've been so prompt, I'm a little behind on seeing the materials requested to the auditors. General status report. An updated report for the investment account is included with my report. This includes not only our overall investment picture, but a breakdown of the holdings. We were able to move $70,000 from the checking account back to the investment account in August. Because our wonderful Evan Elizabeth was able to obtain a very large refund for us from our insurance company. And with that money, we've been able to move back money to investments, as well as the money we moved earlier this year when we had a large bump up in income from when the membership increase was announced.
So we've restored about a third of the money that we withdrew to keep operations running during the COVID lockdowns. We are not back whole by any means on the investment account, and I don't know if we can continue to move money back to the investment account. It will kind of depend on our insurance quote this year. Our expenses that so far this year have been lower than our revenue, and we've been operating in the black by some miracle. We've had 6 positive months out of the last 8 months, and that spreadsheet was also attached to the board report. I don't, just so you understand, the report I give to the board was only through August, even though we're now in October, and that's because I don't normally get the final numbers for the month before until about 3 weeks into the month, because it takes our bookkeeper that long to keep up, to get caught up, essentially. So I expect once I look at my email again, like maybe tomorrow, that she will be sending me the final reports for September. So this is for an 8-month report, even though this is the third quarter. I would like to point out to the board that other than the extraordinary income we had from February, when the membership increase went into effect and a lot of people renewed, and the bump up we got from the refund from the insurance company, our revenue projections have been right on budget for the most part. And that budget was set without regard to the membership increase. So whether or not we continue to operate in the black later this year and for next year is still speculative. Also, due to the pressures of trying to complete the consolidated reports and start the audit, I haven't had time to post the mid-year budget to the website. I think I actually did send it to Marla, however, my memory's a little hazy on that. So I will check that to make sure, because when I looked in my spreadsheets, I didn't see that report because I have one tab for it and I don't know where it went to. And the Kingdom financial reports, the consolidated, are complete. I have a couple of corrections from the Kingdom, so I'll need to send the auditors an update. We have started collecting the materials for the auditors for their first request for documents, and I'm about a week behind on processing those. But I believe the Kingdoms have submitted most of the material that we requested. The auditors have made a second request, which I have not yet sent out to the Kingdoms. We're still working on issues of my being able to access some of the documents for the Kingdoms, because they are using various methods of transmitting them to me. Some are email, some are Google Drive, some are Dropbox. Some are systems I have no idea what they are. And I would like to reiterate that this is one reason I would like to see a shared SharePoint with the Kingdoms, so that we could have one place where the Kingdoms can upload documents and I don't have to hunt them down to get them. So hopefully Sam will get that worked out now that he has a SharePoint champion. And otherwise I'm having to download the files one by one, and that gets a little tedious. I have asked the Kingdoms to give me full editing privileges if they're insisting on sharing documents in Google Drive, for example, because frequently I'm not able to download things in bulk. And publishable summary. The financial consolidated reports have been sent to the auditors and may need some small changes, and the audit has started. I'm hoping we will be able to complete everything on time this year, so we don't incur another overcharge like we did for the 2022 audit. Revenue is running higher than budgeted, and the non-member fee is also running higher than budgeted, but just barely. But we did not adjust the budget at the beginning of the year for either of these income items, so this is as expected. We have been able to replenish some of the funds we had to withdraw from our investment account during COVID. from our increased membership dues, particularly in February, and the one-time reimbursement obtained by our in-house counsel. Travel, the only travel I did this year so far was to go to Great Western War, which was last weekend, and come here. I would like to just explain, if I might, the audit that I'm referring to is an audit that we pay for. It is not like an IRS audit. We do this annually every single year, where we hire an outside CPA firm. They send us requests for documents, like for event income, the bank statements, the PayPal accounts. They go through and make sure that the paper trail is correct, essentially, and that what we're reporting is accurate. This is required by some of the states where we are registered. And I got a question earlier this year as why do we have to do the audit every year? And the simple answer is because we're required to do it every year. So yeah, I'd like to save us that money too, but there isn't a way to save us that money. It's trying to do it timely. And we are running behind again this year, and hopefully we'll have it wrapped up before the beginning of December, because I'm going on vacation and I'm not taking my laptop with me. So that concludes the report of the treasurer.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. I have some other questions for you, but I'll do that at the meeting. Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments from the input? Without the objection by consensus, report is very gratefully accepted. And without such objection, so ordered. That would bring us to item 6D1, investment account performance. Sorry, I believe it's also you, Carolyn, or am I?
The investment account, you did get a summary of that. I did just look up the September statement, and I'm happy to report that the stock market was good to us this last month. So we got about $2,500 in dividends this last month, and due to just growth in the value of the stock investments, we're back over $1 million there. And just a word on that, it was started by Renee Signorati when she was running the corporate office. We've had it, I think, about 15 years maybe now. And she socked as much money away as she could from budget savings or extraordinary items. It was the only thing really that got us through COVID. We did raid that account substantially, and trying to get that money built back up again, but it's difficult when we're running losses consistently. So it's the stock market growth the last few years has helped, but we were only starting to put money back into the account this year. We spent the last 4 years taking money out just to keep operations funded.
By consensus, the board takes note of that as well. This would bring us to item 6D2. This is budget versus actual for August 2024.
Well, I've already kind of summarized it for you.
On the agenda, but is there anything of note that we need to pay particular interest or attention to in that?
Putting in the block for the year, but again, that may not last because we had
on my parade.
Mr. Chairman, you'll see that most of what we're running profit is the 2 extraordinary items that I already mentioned.
I heard in the black. You can stop talking. No, I understand what you're saying.
We still need to be cautious. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, and then by consensus and without objection, the board takes note of that as well. This didn't take us to item 6D3, the report of Society Exchequer. Is Bonnie on? Yes. Bonnie, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one board action requested, and that's to approve the financial policy for the Kingdom of the West. We had tabled that last time, and we changed the verbiage that was in question to match that. Was it in Atlantia? If anybody has a question on that.
Questions from the directors regarding the West Kingdom financial policy as presented? Shep?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the change to the West Kingdom financial policy as provided.
The motion from Director Shepherd. Is there a second? Second from Director Fisher. Is there any discussion on this motion? There being none, we'll move to voting. Directors in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Any opposed? With 6 in favor, none opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no policy interpretations. I have no new policies. Just quick commendations. Many thanks for Trent. He had served as the Laurel or the Herald Exchequer for years. He took a real quick break, and now he's stepping up as Antier's Exchequer, thanks to Georgia for all of her service as well. We have no variances. General status. The new bank forms are still working well. The new doc is sent by the Kingdom Exchequer. We have a stamp when we timestamp when we receive it. When I send it to Louise, that part of the process is easy peasy, fast and easy. But let me say, the banks are a nightmare. Louise and I have worked together behind the scenes. She's talked to so many bank managers. It's unbelievable. I just don't understand why they have to be a pain. You would think they would want our business. Now, NMR payments, they're now being invoiced from society. So we have, like Louise and Carolyn said, and before, that these checks are out of the mail. So they're not getting lost. So society is getting their money faster. James, thank you so much for helping with that. To say the same thing Carolyn did, we desperately need a way to have a SharePoint that we can use for documentation, for storage. I think Sam has heard our need and he's working on it. So thank you, Sam. The notice has been placed for my replacement. I think you guys are going to be interviewing and naming somebody in the next month or so. The publishable summary finances should be transparent. Groups, kingdoms, greater wars need to publish their budgets either in their newsletter or online. The kingdoms, groups, wars have received their final 2022 reports from Carolyn's. The balance sheet income statement should be also published on either the website or in the kingdom or group newsletter. Susan, our PayPal deputy, is trying to look at a possibility of using a QR code at gate. She's trying to see what PayPal allows us to do. So it's in works. And we said we were going to start the open hours again, and we have not, simply because we had our cousins in part of Meridia's, part of Atlantia, and part of Trimaris took a horrible beating. I have talked with all of the Kingdom Exchequers. They are okay. I'm a Katrina survivor. I know where they are. And I thank the board for, looking at their membership. That really means a lot. It meant a lot to us. So thank you. And one other thing, somebody I know, many of you know, named Daphne of Colchester. She was a society seneschal about 1 million years ago. She told me when I first stepped up in this job, she said, you're going to love working with Liz. She is just a wonderful person. You're going to absolutely love her. And she's 100% right. Liz, you've been fantastic. I appreciate everything you've done on your side of the lane to help me in my office. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for the Society Exchequer? Then by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Exchequer is gratefully accepted. And so ordered. Item 6D, 3A, NMR reports, or rather the report of the NMR deputy. Bonnie, is that yours?
Yes, sir. As of the second quarter, we were at 100% reporting. For the first and second quarter of this year events, we're still getting the third quarter in right now. And thank you, Louise, for doing this invoicing that James brainstormed. I think it's going to work really well for us.
Thank you,
Bonnie, there are
Bonnie.
enough-
It's a really great process, and I think it's going to help us. It's already helping us. So thank you.
Bonnie? There are enough numbers in this report to make my eyes bleed. Is there anything that you need to call out of note other than the very welcome stuff? We're at 100% reporting.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said, Mark.
It's enough numbers in this report to make my eyes hurt looking at it. Besides the fact that we're at 100% compliance, is there anything else in here that you need to call out?
No, sir.
Then we very gratefully, by consensus and without objection, accept the report for the NMR deputy. And thank you, by the way. And we've dealt with the, let's see, Leslie, have the warrant extensions, the items 63, yeah, the 2 warrants, those both spoken that way.
Have overturned.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That will bring us to item 6E, the report of, excuse me, we dealt with that. Item 6F, the report of the Society Marshal, who is here. Do I speak one?
Great.
Focus financial report.
Work on projecting.
A moment. Okay.
Yeah, there was no report.
Did I miss one? No, you're good.
You're good.
Okay, please go ahead. Yep.
All right, this quarter, there are no requested board actions, policy interpretations, or new policies with war seasons. I'm giving on a short break. But like was said before, there was lots of work going on in between. Some highlights from this last quarter, there is one marshal office change, the mid-realm KEM. Many thanks to Duke Selleck for his great stewardship of the office over the last several years, and has been replaced by Master Robert Thorne. There are several upcoming deputy changes for my office. We are looking to hire our new deputy society marshal for Rapier by the end of this month. Equestrian will be done in November. Just a heads up that the target archery deputy will be looking for a deputy. That position will be posted soon. Really fun highlight is we did a practical armor penetration class at Pensick this year. So the crux of this class is that we got a pig carcass, which was purchased from a butcher, and this was all cleared with the Pensick class crew. This was mounted on a pal and dressed in a gambeson and butted chain halberd. This is considered to be the armor standard for accepting blows in SCA rattan armored combat. So we wanted to see what the written calibration standard looked like when we actually tried to do it in real life. So a variety of weapons were available. We used 2 swords, an arming sword and a hand and a half sword, a hand axe, a spear, and a CX type dagger. We have video of this. There's 4 videos online on YouTube. The link will be included in the report. In a nutshell, I'm sure you'll want to know what happened. Yes. Our calibration written standard is way out of whack. It took We were actually able to measure the amount of force it took what someone would accept as a normal calibrated blow. In order to cause damage, physical damage to the pig, was almost twice what we expected a standard calibrated blow to feel like that people were throwing. The most damage we were able to do was to fracture and separate some of the cartilage in the short ribs, in the lower ribs. We were unable to damage the upper ribs. In a nutshell, armor works really well. We were able to stab fairly easily, so spear was able to penetrate. The dagger was incredibly effective. But the nutshell of that is we really need to rewrite our calibration standard to reflect what we do today. I think one of my best descriptions of, in order to actually cause damage to the pig, and that was just minimal damage, that's something that was show-stopping. The Duke had to throw a shot that everyone, if it was landed in a really, really ugly crown tournament, it would be on YouTube and there'd be lots of discussion of it. It was an amazing. He really had to wind up the hit it.
It's a terrible question to ask, and I hope nobody's gonna, particularly my friends who might be watching this the wrong way, but which Duke was it? The three of the students? I know a lot of Dukes.
Well, he had to ratchet it. We asked him to keep seeing the force until he could actually cause damage. So this wasn't what was probably normally. I hope.
I don't know who he was.
So do you know who? Sorry, I just don't have his name at the tip of my fingers. It's in the video. Look,
We do know a lot of Dukes.
but my external thanks to Master Aethelhawk, Taz, and the East Kingdom, who purchased the pig, donated his armor and the gambeson, and weapons to do this experiment. But yeah, we were able to get it on video. It's really informative. And we will be looking at updating the calibration standard.
May I suggest not increasing the strength of the blows until we don't really want to hurt people?
So that was a lot of fun. And actually our society president came over to take a stab at the pig.
Had a lot of aggression get out.
Was it a literal stab?
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. How did I do?
It's rated, I think, an inch or two.
You can't see it.
Yes. You did wonderful. So yeah, thanks to Master Taz, and thanks to everyone who participated in that experiment. It was really eye-opening. So let's see, other great highlights. Radius has added the Order of the Golden Lance for equestrian to their kingdom, and they will join the Interkingdom Treaty. So we're happy to hear about that. I put a call out to try to understand what processes and training each of the kingdoms were doing, and there's a lot of process improvement and training happening around the known world. It's fantastic. Just recently at Crown, Kai launched a new kingdom heat policy for use during the Crown tournament. And we've been working with them to study the wet bulb flow temperature and heat index, and looking at applications both on their phone and a handheld device. It was very favorably received and a welcome addition to their martial communities. Data from that study has been forwarded to our office, and we are collecting data over the next year to see if we can provide better guidance on people and tools for people to help understand how to deal with the rising heat issues. Outlands launched a new web-based authorizations portal. So for the IT people, we really enjoy this. It includes role-based privileges, automatic notifications, separate tracking of authorizations, and membership expirations, easily individual, and it's very easy to update individuals. So the populace and the martial is very happy with this new tool. Training that's going on. The MINRO is requiring all of their armored combat marshals to attend a continuing education class and to take a short quiz. Marshals that fail to do so will have their warrant removed. A similar effort for rapier was completed last year and was very successful. Atlantia has a Field 201 class, so a marshal in charge class, which is mandatory for all marshals in Atlantia with a 3-year renewal period. And a class was created for autocrats to understand martial activities when planning for event space. So that was a welcome addition. And Calendar is also working on new martial training and continuing education programs, including active marshaling. And they're developing a new martial authorization processes and forms. Globally, at the society level, the modernization project, updating all of the martial handbooks, we will have 4 drafts out for review next quarter. Those include armored combat rattan, cut and thrust, equestrian, and target archery. So this is a wiki-based form of the martial handbooks for easy access, for much easier to update, and will ensure commonality for the standard elements into the handbooks. So we're very excited that we're getting to the launch point. Quick summary on injuries this last quarter. This does not include the Penzic injury reports. I'm still waiting. I did not have all these numbers in by the time the report came. So excluding Penzic, there were 10 reported injuries, mostly minor, twisted ankles, minor cuts, 3 possible concussions, and 2 conduct issues reported. Standard injury report and online portal is in progress, and we're working on an IT setup for beta testing. Overall, local activities continue to increase. We averaged a 14% increase in authorizations and participation over the last year post-COVID, so the first full year after COVID. Multiple kingdoms have made significant process improvement and martial training events, and weather continues to impact practices depending on region. Multiple practices have been canceled due to high temperatures. There's also why we're investigating new tools to help people not only to understand when they need to make the call, but what kind of actions can they take place to mitigate heat as it increases. It's not just fight or not. There's actually regular breaks, water, there's different methods we can use to deal with the heat. So we're working on gathering up that information for folks. So I just want to mention there's summary for each of the martial activities in my report. I urge everyone to go read them. I also do list the target archery ICAC champions every year for their seasonal sheets. So lots of really great competition across the known world. The other thing I want to highlight is we launched a new experimental program this last quarter, Harness Vector. This is historical-based armored combat techniques with armor as worn. It includes full harness fighting with half swording, grappling, and we do a lot of the technique comes straight out of the manuals, the historical manuals. It includes full harness, so full suit of armor. We do have options for different levels of armor, and we're using a set of rules that have been widely adopted by other human organizations called the Coven Accords. So we launched it the week of Penzic. Over 7 kingdoms have officially joined. We have 50 people in the program with over 20 marshals. We had demos at Penzic. It's been at 3 arts and science events in the last couple of months, 3 different events. And we're getting many reports of people coming back to the SCA because they can now do this high level of historical combat in this incredible environment that we have here in the SCA. So we're very happy with the launch and the success of the program so far. And those are my highlights for this report.
Thank you. Any questions for the Society of Martial? In that case, by consensus and without objection, the report of the Society of Martial is very gratefully accepted. And so ordered. Which will bring us to the report of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences, item 6G.
Hi, this
Sarah.
is Sarah. This is the third quarter report for 2024 for Arts and Sciences. I have one thing under requested board actions, which is more for you to be aware of, not really requiring an action at this point. And that's that it's been a privilege to serve as Society Minister for Arts and Sciences. Now, as is expected, I intend to leave the office at the end of my warrant, which is December 31st, 2024. However, we're a little bit late getting the announcement for a replacement out. So if needed, I'm willing to extend my warrant on a quarterly basis until a suitable successor can be arranged. So no action required, just something for you to be aware of. Policy interpretations, none. New policies, none. Commendations, thank you again to Bridget and Louise for scrolling my 3 pages of commendations so I don't have to read them to you. Since this is probably my last in-person report, I'd like to thank everybody that I've worked with over the last 3 years, board members, particularly my ombudsman and the other officers. Thank you. You've helped me grow. And a very special thank you, extra special, to my husband, Mark McGee, the Honorable Lord Wang Wei Yun, for his patience and unwavering support of all I do, including the vast amount of time and energy that I've invested. One moment.
We love the work we do.
Thank you. Going on to the general status report. During the third quarter of 2024, Kingdoms enjoyed successful universities, arts and sciences championships, competitions, collegia, Penzi classes, and competitions and displays, and smaller local events, including the new ANS themed, including a new ANS themed events and display opportunities. I've really been trying to encourage more display with documentation and not so much a numeric score on some of the arts and sciences. It's very much opened it up to people who are afraid to compete or uncomfortable competing. Kingdoms have been looking ahead and planning and preparing for fall and winter or spring and summer and LACAC events. Plans are already in progress for 2025 arts and sciences events and activities. The Kingdom Ministers of Arts and Sciences from the Gulf Wars Treaty Kingdoms are actively working together to communicate ideas, improvements, and expectations. So something similar is in the works for Penzik. 2 known world events were held in the third quarter. The Known World Dance and Music Symposium was hosted by the Middle Kingdom, and the Known World Cooks and Bards held in Athelmerk. The health of the arts and sciences continues to improve overall. However, finding volunteers at the local level and finding suitable event sites continue to be a challenge in many of our areas. One of the challenges continually noted in finding suitable event sites is the ever-growing number of attendees at some kingdom level events. They're just outgrowing their event sites, which is kind of a good thing. An added challenge also consistently noted by kingdoms involves finding sites that will allow brewing to be included in ANS displays and competitions. A continuing development within the ANS community is very positive. The increase in non-judged, interactive display and documentation opportunities. These provide a much more positive, happy, and nurturing experience for the many active artisans who are hesitant to enter judged competitions. Publishable summary. The Society for Creative Anachronism continues to fulfill its mission to research and recreate the arts and sciences and skills of the pre-17th century world. The third quarter has seen well-attended in-person activities, including Penzik Arts and Sciences classes, competitions and displays, workshops, several local and kingdom champion competitions. This quarter also included the 2 Known World events, the Known World Dance and Music Symposium, and Known World Cooks and Bards. Successful online and hybrid ANS activities, including universities and classes, have continued. Kingdom and local officers successfully continue to update the ways in which we do arts and sciences activities, including training judges, updating judging rubrics, communicating with other kingdoms regarding ANS expectations at Gulf Wars and Penzik, verbal documentation, non-judge displays, interactive display opportunities. The arts and sciences populace in general seems to be enjoying and benefiting from increased opportunities in a non-competitive format. The Society Minister for Arts and Sciences has a Facebook presence that's continually monitored. It allows members to receive information about arts and sciences activities throughout the known world and encourages them to share their own projects, promote local artisans, and connect with others who share their interests. Recently, the populace were invited to focus on sharing recent or current projects. Next, we will focus on enjoying projects that are shiny, messy, surprisingly useful, or involved fire. As the society officer, I continue regular outreach through the Kingdom officers to help encourage and support officers from Kingdom level all the way down to branch offices. Travel, there was no travel this quarter. The one that I had planned for was canceled, so we'll see what to do next. Under addendums, I just wanted to remind everybody, we're finishing up the updates to the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences Handbook, and that it's on schedule to be completed by mid-November. This concludes my third quarter 2024 report.
In that case, your report is very gratefully accepted. We did discuss your warrant situation and the need to discuss your ultimate successor in our planning meeting yesterday. So we will be reaching out to you sometime after the meeting, next week or shortly thereafter to work through the details of that.
Thank you.
Good. And I'm sure we'll have another opportunity, since we have still some time coming, but since it seems to be the meeting for it and whatnot, I'll also take this opportunity to say what a wonderful opportunity it's been to work with you and to see the work that you've done for the society as the Minister of Arts and Sciences. You certainly have executed your office with aplomb, if you will, and done so with professionalism and eminently been consistent and dependable the entire time. Qualities I very much appreciate. Thank you very much. By consensus and without objection, the report of the Society Minister of Arts and Sciences is very gratefully and very humbly accepted. And so ordered. Item 6H, I think that report is pending, so by consensus, we will take no action. And that would bring us to item 7, which is our executive session. Leslie, if you would read those into the minutes.
Actually, 7 is your correspondence.
Did I miss one?
No. Okay.
Do we have correspondence?
That's up to Louise.
Yeah. I'm not on the agenda right now.
She doesn't have it on there. It's supposed to be stated. Like your executive session. Okay, I go back and all right. Mr. Chairman, here are the minutes from your executive session. Terry Bishop, motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Terry Bishop, effective immediately. Second by Katie Shepherd. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Richard Harris, Director KT Shepherd recused himself for voting on this matter. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Richard Harris, effective immediately. Second by Megan O'Shea, in favor of Major Krista Capps, Gabrielle Fisher, Jonathan Foster, Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Recused, KT Shepherd. Motion carried. Johnny Ellis, the Society Seneschal, Liz Schreier was recused. For management of the investigation of this matter, the investigation was instead managed by Stacy Hall, Emergency Replacement Deputy / Society Seneschal elect. Motion by Krista Capes to uphold the temporary removal from participation in the society of Johnny Ellis as issued by Sven and Rithken. Apologies. Crown Ontario and their Kingdom Seneschal on July 14th, 2022 to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation, effective immediately. Second by Katie Shepherd. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Michael Hunt. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Michael Hunt, effective immediately. After the passage of 30 months, Mr. Hunt may petition directly to the board for membership and or participation. Second by Katie Shepherd. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Siriaco Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm sure I have named that. Motion by Krista Capps to uphold the temporary removal from participation in society. Siriaco,
I think it's how it's pronounced.
Sirocco Johnson, as issued by Connor and Isa, Count Quim of the West Kingdom, and their Kingdom Seneschal on August 3rd, 2024, to extend the temporary removal from participation and to further direct the Society Seneschal to begin an investigation into possible sanctions up to and including revocation of membership and denial of participation, effective immediately. Second by Katie Shepherd. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Laura Lovell, Director Puck Bader, recused himself from voting on this matter. Motion by Katie Shepherd to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Laura Love, effective immediately. Second by Krista Capps. In favor, Krista Capps, Gabrielle Fisher, Jonathan Foster, Megan O'Shea, Katie Shepherd. Opposed, none. Recused, Puck Bader. Motion carried. Simon Moody. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Simon Moody, effective immediately. Second by Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Varian Moon. By consensus, this matter was remanded to the January 2025 quarterly meeting. Carl Smart. Motion by Krista Capps to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Carl Smarsh, effective immediately. Second by Gabrielle Fisher. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Scott Stewart. Motion by Katie Shepherd to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Scott Stewart, effective immediately. Second by Pug Baker. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Jason Whistle. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to revoke the membership of and deny participation to Jason Whistle, effective immediately. Second by Pug Baker. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Society Seneschal confidential updates. The report of the Society Seneschal was accepted as presented. Society Exchequer hiring update. By consensus, no action was taken. It was noted that applications will be continued to be accepted until October 31st, 2024. Society Seneschal Emergency Replacement Deputy. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to approve Liz Schreier as Society Seneschal Emergency Replacement Deputy, effective November 1st, 2024, for a period of no more than 6 months. Second by Pug Painter, opposed none, motion carried. Warrant for Mandy Grayson as investigations deputy. By consensus, this warrant is approved for signature after the close of the meeting. Warrant for Mickey Santee, youth office. By consensus, this warrant is approved for signature after the close of the current meeting. Warrant for Lori Ford as special projects deputy to the president. By consensus, this warrant is approved for signature after the close of the current meeting. Legal updates. The report of in-house counsel was accepted as presented. Corporate budget adjustments. By consensus, adjustments to the 2025 budget were accepted as presented effective January 1st, 2024. October 20, thank you. 2025. Director resignations and acknowledgements. By consensus, the resignation of Director Gabrielle Fisher for seat D for the Board of Directors is accepted effective at the close of the 2024, October 20th, 2024 quarterly meeting. Director appointment acknowledgement. By consensus, Jones. Sorry, Joe.
Boyer.
Is recognized as assuming seat D for Board of Directors effective at the close of the October 20th, 2024 quarterly meeting. Director appointment seat E. By consensus, no action was taken. Chair assignment. By consensus, no action was taken. Vice Chair assignment. Motion by Gabrielle Fisher to appoint K.T. Shepherd as Vice Chair for the Board of Directors for the Society for Creative Anachronism, effective at the close of the October 20th, 2024 quarterly meeting. Second by Megan O'Shea. Opposed, none. Chair Mark Falcon exercised his option to vote and did so in favor of the motion. Motion carried. Ombudsman assignments. These assignments are effective at the close of this meeting. Chair Mark Falcon, President, Society Seneschal, Board Offices, Executive Assistant, Financial Officers, Shapley. Vice Chair K.T. Shepherd, Ontier, Kaid, West, Marshall. Director Pug Painter, Inclusive Programs / DEIB, Harold, Ethelmart, East, Glen Ovid, Primaris. Director Krista Capps, Aidenbelt, Atlantia, Mental, Director Jonathan Foster, Chatelaine. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's what I mean. Chatelaine, Information Technology, Web Minister and Webmaster, Palantir and Outlands. Okay, excuse me, I need to remove Chatelaine. I had her twice under the chair, so. Okay, so Chatelaine is under Director Foster. Director Megan O'Shea, A&S, Aurora, Artemisia, Meridies, North Shield, publications including TICAM Chronicle. Joe
Stoyer.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll get it, I promise. Slow today. Ombudsman for Abacal, Dragonball, Eldemir, and Locock. Warrant expirations. It's noted that the upcoming warrant expirations are dated Chronicler December 31st, 2024. Minister of Arts and Sciences, December 31st, 2024. Exchequer, February 1st, 2025. And that closes your executive session meetings minutes.
Thank you very much, Leslie. So that concludes the majority of the business for this quarterly meeting of. There is, however, I speak English. A small bit of business left to do, and just to set some expectations. Then, once we've concluded, we will, if necessary, take another short break, wherein we will collect questions from the folks online. We will take questions from the audience here in the room. Do a little bit of answering said questions, and then we will conclude the meeting. However, before that, we would be remiss. Of course, we'll end the meeting at some point there as well.
What's your? Oh my God, please.
But since this seems to be the meeting of endings and commemorations, yes, get up. Even under normal circumstances, it is not easy to be a corporate officer, and it is not easy to be a board member. It is especially telling for someone's dedication, leadership, and resiliency, quite frankly, when they're willing to do it twice. And Gabrielle Underwood, Fisher, excuse me. I knew you back then.
I know.
Gabrielle Fisher has demonstrated all of those qualities. The fact that she was willing to do so again under trying circumstances, stepping into in the middle of a term to complete it, under trying circumstances, we're recovering from COVID, with so many different challenges, for the SCA as an organization, for the board, in trying to navigate those challenges and meet the needs of the organization, and to provide that steady guidance and leadership in helping us get out of the situation we were in and put ourselves back on the path to recovery. And the fact that she was able to do so with a smile on her face and to help us all keep smiles on our faces has been extraordinary. I've been very fortunate that I don't know, she's been unfortunate that most of my interactions with the corporate side of the SCA in one fashion or another have involved Gabrielle, whether it was when I was king the first time or when I was on the board the first time in some fashion, the stuff in between, and now this time. But I've counted myself lucky in all of those times to be able to count on Gabrielle, and I know that the SCA is lucky to have had her as a board member and to have had her as a vice chair of this organization, not once, but twice. And I suspect that whatever break she may get from leadership in this organization will not be long, because she can't help herself. And she is the definition of helium. So, in recognition of that, and because normally when somebody needs to say something eloquent, I am the guy at the bottom of the list. Sorry, right above me. Well, I may be at the bottom of the list. Maybe you're the guy holding the list. Scary.
Wow. I'm kind of afraid. It's not the minute.
No, it's not like that. But I did want to. But this is presented to Gabrielle Fisher in recognition of her enduring leadership and dedication to our society as Vice Chairperson Emeritus of the Board, October 24th or 20th, 2024, Society for Creative Anachronism.
Thank you very much, everybody. It
More crap.
No, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm a bit of an odd duck in that I greatly enjoy my time on the board. the weirder the situations, the more joy I get from it. I'm kind of an odd duck, but yeah, I've been honored and privileged to be able to serve in this capacity, and I look forward to helping the corporation.
Liz? No, I wanted to say something for, please, Liz, that's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Liz, I know this is your last meeting as Society Seneschal, though you're sticking around for about another 6 months-ish. So you're not getting away scot-free. I feel, I'm sorry we didn't, what I have for you is not here yet, but like I said, you're sticking around for 6 months, so you'll get it eventually. Because you know me, I'm always a little bit late. But thank you so much for everything that you've done for me, helping me learn, and the guidance and friendship. And thanks for everything that you've done for this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've seen today doesn't show you, sorry, how much we love this organization. I don't know what we're. Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much, Gabe. I appreciate and love both of you. Welcome, Stacy. Anything else? Feel the need to wax poetic for a moment?
I just want to say thank you to Liz as well, actually. When I stepped on the board the very first time, she was a director that I got to work with as vice chair. And so having her here once again, when I was asked to step back up, was a great reassurance, knowing that she was our society seneschal and she has done an outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank the KSL intruders. Well, before we conclude the meeting, then we would also like to extend our thanks and very profound thanks actually to our ASL interpreters for allowing us to extend the reach of our meetings to our members who rely on ASL to be able to understand what we're saying. Well, I mean, in fairness, to understand the stuff that comes out of our mouth, whether it's understandable or not, that's open to interpretation. Well, maybe some of this, you know. It was the open to interpretation. Oh. But one thing left, and since we are in fact in person, and it is her last meeting, I will surrender the gavel to Vice Chair Fisher to close the meeting.
Mr. Shepherd.
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we close this October board meeting, October 20th, 2024 board meeting at this time.
There is a motion by Director Shepherd and a second by Director Capps. Is there any further discussion?
Well,
formality.
That's pretty much.
All right, I guess we'll move to voting. Is there all in favor of the motion? I'm gonna extend my option to vote and do so. So that's all in favor. Any opposed, even though obviously not? No recusals. Oh, yeah, so, yeah, all in favor? Then the motion carries. This meeting is closed.